The crystal wine glass shattered just inches from her face. Red wine splattered across the velvet walls. Shards of glass rained down. The entire restaurant fell silent. No one dared breathe, because everyone knew one rule: never embarrass Lucien Moretti. But Celine Vale, a waitress exhausted after 2 consecutive shifts, looked straight into the eyes of New York's most fearsome mafia boss and said the words no one dared say: "If you finish your psycho act, I can bring you the menu again." That was the night everything began. The night she unknowingly signed a contract with the devil. Follow this story to the end, and comment the name of the city you're watching to let me know how far the story has progressed. Now, let's begin. The restaurant was called Aurelius. That detail mattered because 3 months later, when Celine's world collapsed into rubble and broken glass, she would remember that even the name had been a lie. Gold-painted lie. Marble-floored lie. A lie dressed in velvet curtains and candlelight expensive enough to feed a family for weeks. She'd been working there 6 months. Double shifts most days. Breakfast service at a diner in Queens, then straight to Aurelius for the evening crowd. Her feet ached in ways that made sleep impossible. The kind of ache that lived in your bones and reminded you every morning that survival wasn't supposed to be this hard. 26 years old and already exhausted by existence itself. The Thursday night crowd was typical. Wall Street predators in $1,000 suits, trophy wives with faces stretched tight by surgery, old money pretending to be cultured while new money pretended to belong. Celine moved between tables like a ghost, invisible until needed, forgotten the moment she walked away. She preferred it that way. Table 7 ordered the Chateau Margaux. $400 a bottle. The man ordering didn't even look at her face when he spoke, just pointed at the wine list with fingers that had never known real work. Celine brought the bottle, presented it properly, poured exactly 1 ounce for tasting. The man swirled it, sniffed, sipped. Then he threw it in her face. Not the glass, the wine itself. Red liquid splashing across her white shirt, her neck, her cheek. Hot with humiliation. "Corked," he said, like the word was an insult aimed at her personally. "Bring another." The table laughed. Not loud, just enough to let her know she was the joke. Celine's hands shook, not with fear, with rage so pure it felt like swallowing glass. But she needed this job, needed the tips, needed to eat and pay rent and survive another week in a city that chewed people up and spit them out without even noticing. So she smiled. "Right away, sir." She walked back toward the wine cellar, shirt clinging cold against her skin, eyes burning. In the hallway between the dining room and the kitchen, she pressed her forehead against the wall and breathed. Just breathed, counted to 10, reminded herself that dignity was a luxury she couldn't afford. The second bottle went to table 7 without incident. 2 hours later, the real problem started at table 12. Celine had seen dangerous men before. The city was full of them. But Lucien Moretti was different. He didn't need to raise his voice or make threats. He just existed in a space, and the air itself changed. Became heavier, colder. He sat alone at a corner booth, reading something on his phone. Black suit that probably cost more than her annual rent. Silver watch catching the candlelight. Dark hair swept back, jaw sharp enough to cut. 36 and already looking like he'd lived 3 lifetimes, none of them easy. Celine approached with water and bread. "Good evening. Can I start you with—" "McAllen. Neat. And I'll order food when I'm ready." His voice was quiet, controlled. The kind of quiet that made you listen harder because you knew it could explode into violence without warning. She brought the McAllen, set it down carefully. He didn't look up. 15 minutes passed. Celine checked back twice. He waved her off both times. Then his phone rang. He answered, listened. And his expression shifted into something that made Celine's survival instinct scream at her to walk away. But she was 3 tables deep in orders, and the kitchen was backing up, and her manager was already giving her looks because apparently moving fast enough to satisfy rich people wasn't the same as moving fast enough to keep your job. When she returned to table 12 with the question about his order, Lucien was standing, phone still pressed to his ear, and the man on the other end was clearly delivering news that Lucien did not want to hear. "Say that again," Lucien said, voice dropping to something sub-zero. "Slowly." Pause. "And you're certain?" Another pause. "Then find him. I don't care if you have to burn the entire East Side. Find him before sunrise or I'll burn you instead." He ended the call. Set the phone down with control that looked painful. Celine knew she should leave. Every instinct she'd developed surviving foster care and streets and men with too much power told her to turn around and let someone else handle this table. But rent was due in 3 days, and she was $400 short. "Have you decided on—" Lucien picked up his glass. The Macallan. Full. Untouched. And for one surreal moment, Celine thought he was actually going to drink it like a normal person. Instead, he hurled it at the wall behind her. The crystal exploded, whiskey and glass spraying everywhere. The entire restaurant went silent. Conversations died mid-sentence. Silverware stopped clinking. Even the kitchen noise seemed to pause, like the building itself was holding its breath. Celine stood frozen, glass fragments glittering in her hair, whiskey soaking into the carpet. Lucien stared at the broken remains of the glass, then at her. And for just a second, something flickered across his face that might have been regret, but only for a second. "Leave," he said. Not to her, to everyone else. The other diners started moving immediately, gathering coats, signing checks. The staff began ushering people toward the exits with the practiced efficiency of a fire drill nobody ever mentioned. Celine didn't move, because she'd spent her entire life being told to leave, to shut up, to make herself smaller, to disappear so other people could be comfortable. And she was so goddamn tired of it. "No," she said. Lucien's eyes snapped to her face, really looked at her for the first time. "What?" "I said no." Her voice was shaking, but she didn't care. "You want to throw a tantrum? Fine. But I'm not cleaning it up, and I'm not pretending this is normal behavior." Someone near the kitchen made a sound like a strangled gasp. Celine kept going. "You're a grown man. Act like one." The silence that followed was so complete she could hear her own heartbeat. Lucien stood slowly, unfolding from the booth like something predatory deciding whether to strike. He was taller than she'd realized, broader, the kind of physical presence that didn't need weapons to be threatening. He walked toward her. Celine's body screamed at her to run, but she'd learned a long time ago that running just made predators chase harder. Lucien stopped inches away, close enough that she could smell expensive cologne and whiskey and something darker underneath, something that smelled like violence. "Do you know who I am?" His voice was barely above a whisper. "No," Celine lied, because everyone knew who Lucien Moretti was. The newspapers called him a businessman. The streets called him king. The truth was somewhere in between, written in blood and money and bodies that disappeared into the Hudson. "Then you're either very brave or very stupid." "Probably both," Celine said. "But that doesn't change the fact that you're acting like a spoiled psychopath." Someone behind her made a noise like they were watching a car crash in slow motion. Lucien's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Something almost like surprise. "You're fired," he said. "You can't fire me. You don't work here. I own this restaurant. I own the building it's in. I own most of this block." He tilted his head slightly. "And now you're fired." The words hit like a fist to the stomach. Celine felt the floor drop out from under her carefully constructed survival plan. Felt the rent check evaporate. Felt the electric bill and the grocery money and the small, pathetic dream of maybe saving enough to take a single college class disappear into smoke. Her manager appeared from the back office, face pale, moving carefully like he was approaching an armed bomb. "Mr. Moretti, I'm so sorry. She's new. She doesn't understand." "She's done," Lucien said without looking away from Celine. "Pay her for tonight and make sure she's escorted out." The manager nodded frantically, reached for Celine's arm. She jerked away. Because losing this job was one thing, being dragged out like garbage was something else entirely. She looked directly into Lucien Moretti's dark eyes and made the worst decision of her life. "You know what your problem is?" Her voice came out quieter than she intended, almost gentle. "Nobody's ever loved you enough to tell you you're becoming a monster." The words landed in the silence like stones thrown into still water. Lucien's expression went completely blank, the kind of blank that meant every emotion had been locked away somewhere deep and dangerous. For a moment, Celine thought he might actually kill her. Instead, he turned and walked out. Footsteps measured, controlled. The front door closing behind him with a soft click that somehow felt louder than the shattered glass. Celine stood in the wreckage of her employment, heart hammering, hands shaking, and absolutely certain she'd just signed her own death warrant. The manager grabbed her arm again. This time she let him. Let him march her to the back office. Let him count out her final paycheck in cash with trembling fingers. Let him walk her to the service exit and watch her leave like he was afraid she might try to come back. The night air hit her face like a slap. She made it 3 blocks before she had to stop and lean against a building because her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. What had she done? What the hell had she done? Her phone buzzed. Text from her roommate Jessica. Landlord stopped by. Wants the rent by Monday or we're out. Monday was 4 days away. She'd just been fired from her highest paying job, and she'd insulted the most dangerous man in New York City in front of witnesses. Celine tilted her head back against the brick wall and laughed. Because what else could she do? Crying wouldn't pay the rent. Fear wouldn't change the past. She was 26 years old and already so tired of fighting just to exist. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but at this point, what did she have to lose? Hello? Miss Vale. The voice was professional. Female. Mr. Moretti would like to offer you a meeting tomorrow morning at 10. He'll send a car to your address. Celine's blood went cold. How did you get this number? Will you be available? For what? Mr. Moretti will explain in person. A pause. He suggests you attend. The alternative would be, unfortunate. The line went dead. Celine stared at her phone like it might explode. Then she called Jessica. Pack a bag. We might need to leave the city. What? Why? I'll explain when I get home. Just pack. She hung up and started walking, faster now, looking over her shoulder every few steps because the city suddenly felt full of eyes. The subway ride home took 30 minutes but felt like hours. Every person who looked at her too long became a potential threat. Every sudden movement made her flinch. By the time she reached the apartment in Queens, she'd convinced herself she was being paranoid. Then she saw the black Mercedes parked outside her building, tinted windows, engine running, waiting. Celine stopped on the sidewalk, every survival instinct screaming at her to run. But run where? She had $83 in her bank account and no family to call, no friends outside the city, nowhere to hide from someone like Lucien Moretti. The rear window rolled down. A woman in a gray suit looked out, same voice from the phone. Miss Vale, the meeting time has been moved up. Please get in. And if I don't? Then we'll have this conversation in a much less pleasant location. She opened the door. Your choice. Celine thought about Jessica upstairs, thought about running, thought about screaming. Then she got in the car. The door closed with a heavy click. Locks engaged automatically. The woman beside her was maybe 40, beautiful in the way expensive maintenance could buy. Cold eyes that had seen things Celine probably couldn't imagine. I'm Viviana, she said as the car pulled away from the curb. Mr. Moretti's operations director. Where are we going? He wants to talk to you. About what? Viviana smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. About a job opportunity. I already have... Celine stopped. I had a job. Your boss fired me. From the restaurant, yes. This is different work. What kind of work? The kind that pays well enough that you'll never worry about rent again. Viviana's smile sharpened. Assuming you survive it. The car drove through Manhattan, past the theater district, past the financial towers, into neighborhoods where the buildings got taller and the security got tighter. They pulled into an underground garage beneath a high-rise that probably had a name Celine would recognize if she cared about things like luxury real estate. The elevator required a key card, then a code, then a thumbprint. Celine's heart was hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. The doors opened directly into a penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern furniture that looked like art. Paintings on the walls that might be originals. Everything expensive and cold and chosen by someone who understood power but not comfort. Lucien stood by the windows, same black suit, glass of whiskey in his hand, looking out at Manhattan like he owned every light. He probably did. Thank you, Viviana, he said without turning around. The operations director left without a word. The elevator doors closed. Celine heard the locks engage. She was alone with him. You can sit, Lucien said. I'll stand. He turned. looked at her with those dark eyes that seemed to see through skin and bone. You're afraid. I'm smart. Same thing sometimes. He took a sip of whiskey. You told me tonight that nobody loved me enough to tell me I'm becoming a monster. Celine said nothing. That was either the bravest thing I've heard in years or the stupidest. He set down his glass. I haven't decided which. Are you going to kill me? No. Then what do you want? Lucien walked toward her, slow, measured, like he had all the time in the world and she wasn't going anywhere. Someone is stealing from me, he said. Money, information, roots. They've been doing it for months and I can't figure out who. And you think I can? I think you're invisible. He stopped a few feet away. People like you, servers, assistants, cleaners, they move through rooms and nobody really sees them. You hear things, notice things, because your survival depends on reading people. He wasn't wrong. I need someone on the inside, Lucien continued. Someone my enemies would underestimate. Someone desperate enough to take the risk and smart enough to survive it. You want me to spy for you. I want you to attend events. Listen, watch, report back what you see. He paused. And in exchange, I'll pay you more in a month than you'd make in a year slinging wine to Wall Street parasites. Celine's mind raced. And if I say no? Then you leave. Go back to your life. I won't touch you. She didn't believe that for a second. But you should know that word got out about what happened tonight. About what you said to me. There are people in this city who would consider that a sign of disrespect to my authority. People who might decide to make an example of you just to prove a point. So I work for you or I become a target. Or you take the money, help me find the leak, and walk away rich enough to start over anywhere you want. Lucien's expression didn't change. Your choice. Celine wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, wanted to demand how this was fair or right, or anything other than a trap disguised as an opportunity. But she'd learned years ago that fairness was a fairy tale rich people told themselves to sleep better at night. How much? She asked. 50,000, plus expenses. The number hit her like cold water. $50,000. She could pay off her student loans, get a real apartment, maybe even save enough to finally finish her degree. When would I start? Tomorrow night. There's a charity gala at the Metropolitan Museum. You'll attend as my guest. I don't have anything to wear to something like that. Already handled. Viviana will take you shopping in the morning. He picked up his whiskey again. Do we have an agreement? Celine looked at him. Really looked. Tried to see past the expensive suit and dangerous reputation to whatever was underneath. All she saw was darkness. But darkness was familiar. She'd grown up in it, survived it. Maybe she could survive this too. One condition, she said. Lucien raised an eyebrow. You're negotiating? If I do this and find your leak, you let me walk away. No strings, no obligations. You don't own me. Something flickered in his expression, almost like respect. Agreed. He held out his hand. Celine stared at it, knowing that shaking it would change everything, that she was making a deal with someone who operated outside every law and moral boundary she'd been raised to believe in. But she'd been operating outside those boundaries her whole life just to survive. At least this way she'd get paid for it. She shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, human. Somehow, that made it worse. Viviana will brief you in the morning, Lucien said. The car will pick you up at 8. I need to tell my roommate something. Tell her you got a new job. Private event planning, pays well, requires travel. He released her hand. The less she knows, the safer she'll be. The words sent ice down Celine's spine, because they confirmed what she already suspected. She'd just signed up for something that could get people killed. The elevator ride down felt like descending into something she'd never climb out of. Viviana waited in the car, drove her home in silence. The city lights streaming past the windows like memories of a simpler life. When Celine finally made it back to the apartment, Jessica was asleep on the couch, packed bag on the floor beside her. Celine covered her with a blanket, sat in the dark living room, stared at her phone and the text message from Viviana that had come through with tomorrow's schedule. 8 a.m., shopping. 2 p.m., hair and makeup. 7 p.m., car arrives. 8 p.m., gala begins. She was really doing this. The next morning came too fast. Celine barely slept. When the black Mercedes pulled up at 8 sharp, she was already waiting outside. Didn't want Jessica asking questions she couldn't answer. Viviana took her to boutiques Celine had only seen from the outside. Places where there were no price tags because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. The emerald gown cost more than Celine's last 3 months of rent combined. It fit perfectly. "Mr. Moretti has excellent taste," the shop assistant said while adjusting the hem. Celine caught Viviana's expression in the mirror, something cold and calculating behind those professional eyes. "He certainly does," Viviana said. By 7 p.m., Celine barely recognized herself. The hair, the makeup, the dress, the shoes that could double as weapons. She looked like someone who belonged at events where champagne cost more than groceries and conversations decided the fates of thousands. She looked like the kind of woman someone like Lucien Moretti would bring to a gala. The thought made her stomach turn. The car arrived exactly on time. This time Lucien was inside. He looked at her for a long moment, expression unreadable. "You'll do," he finally said. Celine wanted to punch him. "That's what you're going with? Would you prefer I lie?" "I'd prefer you act like a human being for 5 consecutive seconds." Something that might have been amusement crossed his face. "Get in." The Metropolitan Museum at night looked like something from another world. Lit up like a cathedral, red carpet, security everywhere, cameras flashing, beautiful people flowing up the stairs in designer clothes and jewelry worth more than small countries. Celine's hand trembled slightly as Lucien helped her out of the car. He noticed. "Nervous?" "Terrified." "Good. Fear keeps you sharp." He offered his arm. "Stay close. Smile when appropriate, and listen to everything." They walked up the red carpet together, cameras exploding in flashes, reporters shouting questions that Lucien ignored, security parting like water around them. Inside, the museum had been transformed. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, live orchestra, tables covered in white silk and gold accents, hundreds of people who looked like they'd been born wearing tuxedos and gowns. Celine recognized faces from magazines, politicians, CEOs, people who appeared on morning talk shows, all of them mingling like this was normal, like wealth and power were as natural as breathing. Lucien's hand rested on the small of her back, possessive, protective. She couldn't tell which. "That's Senator Williams," he said quietly, nodding toward a silver-haired man by the bar. "Talks about ethics in public, takes bribes in private. Don't trust anything he says." They moved through the crowd, Lucien introducing her as Celine. No last name, no explanation, just his date for the evening. People smiled at her, the kind of smiles that didn't reach eyes, calculating, measuring, trying to figure out who she was and what she meant to Lucien Moretti. Selena smiled back, played the part, all while her mind catalogued everything. Who stood close to Lucien, who kept their distance, who watched him when they thought he wasn't looking, who interrupted conversations when he approached. An hour in, she started noticing patterns. Lucien's inner circle, the men in expensive suits who stayed within arm's reach, seemed nervous, exchanging glances, touching their phones too often. One of them, a man Lucien had introduced as Marcus, kept checking his watch. Another, a younger guy named Anthony, couldn't seem to stand still, shifting weight, scanning exits. These weren't men comfortable in their positions. These were men waiting for something to go wrong. Celine leaned close to Lucien during a lull in conversation. "Your people are scared." He didn't look at her, just sipped his champagne. Observant. Is that normal? No. The word sent a chill through her, because if Lucien's own men were afraid, what the hell was coming? The answer arrived at midnight. Celine was standing near the dessert table when her phone buzzed. Text from a number she didn't recognize. Federal raid. 2 warehouses. Simultaneous. Someone tipped them off. She looked up, found Lucien across the room, saw him reading the same message, watched his expression shift into something that made everyone around him take an unconscious step back. He crossed the room in 4 strides. "We're leaving." "What's wrong?" "Everything." They made it to the car before the news hit. Viviana was waiting, face grim. "Both warehouses," she said as they drove. "Complete bust. Feds had warrants, knew exactly what they were looking for." "How much did we lose?" Lucien's voice was ice. Everything. Product, records, 3 men in custody. Who knew about those locations? Inner circle only, maybe a dozen people. Lucian stared out the window, processing, calculating. Celine watched him, saw the way his jaw tightened, the way his hands flexed. This wasn't just business going wrong, this was betrayal, personal. Someone inside leaked it, Celine said. Both Lucien and Viviana turned to look at her. What makes you say that? Viviana's tone was sharp. Because nobody at that gala was surprised when the news came through. Your people were expecting it. They've been nervous all night. Lucien's eyes narrowed. You noticed that in one evening? I notice everything. It's how I've stayed alive this long. Silence filled the car. Then Lucien pulled out his phone, made a call. Locked down all operations. Nobody moves product. Nobody makes contact with outside. And pull the security footage from both warehouses for the last month. He ended the call. Looked at Celine. You're right. Someone on the inside is burning me. His expression was unreadable. And you're going to help me find out who. The car pulled up to his building, penthouse lights glowing above. They rode the elevator in tense silence, Viviana typing rapidly on her phone, Lucienne staring at nothing, Celine trying not to think about how she'd gone from serving wine to investigating federal raids in less than 48 hours. The elevator doors opened. The penthouse was dark except for the city lights streaming through the windows. Lucien poured himself a drink, downed it, poured another. Talk me through what you saw tonight, he said. Celine went through the evening, the nervous glances, the phone checking, the ways certain people seemed to relax when the news came through instead of panic. Marcus checked his watch 17 times in 90 minutes, she said. Anthony couldn't stay in one place for more than 3 minutes. And there was a woman, brunette, red dress, stood near the bathroom most of the night, who seemed to be watching your people more than the actual event. Viviana's typing stopped. What woman? I don't know her name, but she spent a lot of time looking at your phone. Viviana's face went pale. Lucien noticed. What? That sounds like... Viviana stopped. No, that's impossible. Who? Elena Costas. She's a federal prosecutor, but she wouldn't be at a charity gala. She'd have no reason to... Unless she was tracking someone specific, Celine finished. The room went silent. Then Lucien's phone rang. He answered, listened. His expression shifted into something murderous. When? A pause. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. Looked at Viviana. One of the men in custody just tried to make a deal. Said he can give them everything. Who? Anthony. The name hung in the air like smoke. Viviana stood. I'll handle it. No. Lucien's voice was flat. I will. He turned to Celine. You need to leave, now. This doesn't concern you anymore. You hired me to help find the leak. I found him. Your job is done. Then pay me and I'll go. Lucien pulled out his phone, typed. Celine's phone buzzed. She checked. $50,000 deposited into her account. Just like that. We're done, Lucien said. Viviana will make sure you get home safely. He walked toward his bedroom, stopped at the doorway, didn't turn around. Thank you, he said quietly. For tonight. Then he disappeared into the dark. Viviana escorted Celine downstairs. The ride home was silent. When they pulled up to her building in Queens, Viviana handed her a card. If anyone asks about tonight, you were never there. You don't know Lucien Moretti. You've never heard of those warehouses. Understand? Celine took the card. And if I don't? Then you become a loose end. Viviana's smile was ice. And Mr. Moretti doesn't like loose ends. The car drove away. Celine stood on the sidewalk, evening gown billowing in the night wind, $50,000 richer and somehow feeling poorer than she'd ever been. She went upstairs, changed, washed off the makeup, stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, and barely recognized the person looking back. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. You did well tonight. L. She stared at the message, started typing a reply. Deleted it. Started again. Deleted it. Finally just turned off her phone. But sleep wouldn't come, because something about tonight felt wrong. The timing too perfect. Anthony's arrest too convenient. The whole thing wrapped up too cleanly, like someone had written the script ahead of time. like someone wanted her to see exactly what they wanted her to see. Celine lay in the dark and listened to the city beyond her window. Sirens, traffic, life continuing like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. She'd stepped into Lucien Moretti's world for one night and seen enough to know that the real danger wasn't the federal raids or the betrayals or even the violence. The real danger was how easy it had been, how natural it felt to move through his world, to read people, to calculate angles, to become someone who could smile at a senator while cataloging his weaknesses. She'd spent her whole life fighting to be good, to be better than the circumstances that shaped her. One night with Lucien, and she'd remembered something she'd tried to forget. She was good at being dangerous, too. Her phone buzzed again, even though she'd turned it off. She picked it up, same unknown number, but the message made her blood run cold. The raid tonight was a setup. Anthony didn't betray anyone. He was sacrificed, and you just helped them do it. If you want to know who's really behind this, meet me tomorrow. Pier 17, noon, come alone. A friend who knows you're in over your head. Celine read the message 3 times. Then she stared at the ceiling until sunrise and wondered what the hell she'd actually gotten herself into. Celine didn't sleep. She lay on her mattress on the floor because the bed frame had broken 3 months ago and she'd never had the money to replace it, staring at the crack in the ceiling that looked like a map to nowhere. The message glowed in her mind like a neon sign. Come alone. Jessica's breathing was steady in the other room. Regular. Innocent. The sound of someone whose biggest problem was a late rent check, not anonymous warnings about federal setups and sacrificial pawns. At 5 a.m., Celine gave up trying to rest. She made instant coffee with water that took too long to heat because the building's pipes were older than most of the residents. Sat at the wobbly kitchen table. Watched the city wake up through the window that didn't quite close all the way. $50,000 sat in her bank account. Real money. Life-changing money. And she was about to risk it all by meeting a stranger at a pier because something about last night felt like swallowing broken glass. Smart move, Celine. Real smart. She dressed in jeans and a jacket, nothing that screamed money or drew attention. Before leaving, she wrote a note for Jessica. Got called in early for new job. Don't wait up. The lie tasted like ash. The subway to Pier 17 took 40 minutes. Celine spent every second of it watching reflections in the windows, looking for faces that appeared too often, for eyes that lingered too long. But the morning commute was packed with tired people heading to jobs they hated, and if someone was following her, they were better at it than she was at noticing. Pier 17 smelled like salt water and old fish, and the particular kind of decay that came from things that used to matter finally giving up. The tourist shops weren't open yet. A few joggers passed by. A homeless man slept against a bench with a cardboard sign that said, Veteran, anything helps. Celine checked her phone. 11:47 a.m. She was early, deliberately. Wanted to see who showed up and how they moved and whether they looked like someone trying to help or someone trying to finish what last night started. At 11:55, a woman appeared. Not what Celine expected. Mid-30s. Professional, but not corporate. Dark hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail, wearing running clothes that had actually been used for running, not just for looking athletic at brunch. She moved like someone comfortable in her body, confident. Maybe military training or martial arts or just the kind of life that taught you to watch your corners. She sat on the bench 20 feet from where Celine stood, pulled out her phone, started scrolling like she was waiting for someone. Celine watched her for 3 minutes. The woman never looked up, never scanned the area. Just sat there, looking bored and slightly annoyed like she'd been stood up. Finally, Celine walked over. You sent the message. The woman glanced up, dark eyes that measured Celine in about 2 seconds. You actually came. Wasn't sure you would. Who are you? Someone who knows you're being played. She patted the bench beside her. Sit. We don't have much time. Celine didn't sit. Time before what? Before Viviana's people realize you're not at home and start tracking your phone. The woman tilted her head. You didn't turn off location services, did you? Celine's stomach dropped. She pulled out her phone, started navigating to settings. Too late now, the woman said. They've already got your coordinates if they're looking, which means we have maybe 10 minutes for this conversation before things get complicated. Who the hell are you? Agent Sarah Chen, FBI. She said it quietly, casually, like she was mentioning the weather. And before you run, you should know that everything you saw last night was theater. Anthony didn't flip. He was never going to flip. Because the raid wasn't real, and the bust wasn't real, and you were brought in specifically to witness something that would make Lucien Moretti trust you more. The words hit like cold water. Celine sat down. Not because she wanted to, because her legs stopped working properly. "That's impossible," she said. "I saw the news reports. The arrests staged. The men in custody are already out. The warehouses that got raided?" Chen pulled up something on her phone. Showed Celine. "Locations that were scheduled for demolition anyway. Empty for weeks. We made it look good for the cameras, but there was nothing to actually seize." Celine stared at the photos. Empty buildings, no product, no people, just hollow spaces where Lucien's empire was supposed to be. "Why?" Her voice came out rough. "Why go through all that?" "Because Viviana De Luca needed you to believe you'd helped expose a traitor. Needed Lucien to believe you were valuable. Needed you on the inside so she could—" Chen stopped, shook her head. "How much do you actually know about Viviana?" "She's Lucien's operations director. She runs everything. Lucien thinks he's in control, but Viviana's been systematically replacing his loyal people with hers for 3 years. She's setting him up for a fall so massive it'll take down everyone connected to him, including you, if you're not careful." The morning sun felt too bright, the water too loud, everything too sharp and clear and wrong. "Lucien hired me to find a leak," Celine said. "If Viviana's behind it—" "He doesn't know. That's the genius of it. She's feeding him small betrayals to distract from the big one. Anthony was nothing, a sacrifice to make the game look real. But Viviana's been siphoning money, rerouting shipments, building her own empire inside his, and when she's ready, she'll burn it all down with him inside." Celine's hands were shaking. She pressed them against her thighs. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're smart and desperate, and you don't owe Lucien Moretti anything except one night's work." Chen leaned closer. "Walk away. Take your money and disappear before this gets bloody. Because it will get bloody. Viviana's waited 15 years for this." 15 years for what? Revenge. Chen's expression hardened. Her father was Vincent De Luca, ran the docks before Lucien took over. You know how that transition happened? Celine shook her head. Lucien executed him, public, made an example. Viviana was 20 years old, watched her father bleed out on a warehouse floor while Lucien's men made sure nobody interfered. She spent every year since then building toward this moment, getting close, earning trust, waiting. The pieces started falling into place. The cold efficiency, the perfect timing, the way Viviana always seemed to know exactly what to say and when to say it. Does Lucien know who she is? He knows her name, doesn't connect it to Vincent. Why would he? De Luca's a common name, and she's been nothing but loyal for years. Perfect employee, perfect soldier. Chen stood. But loyalty was the disguise, and you just helped her sell it. I didn't know. Doesn't matter. You're part of this now. And when it collapses, everyone goes down. FBI, state prosecutors, people who've been building cases for years. It'll be chaos. She pulled out a card, plain white, just a phone number. When you're ready to talk, call that number. We can protect you, put you somewhere safe, but only if you cooperate before things explode. Celine took the card, looked at it, looked at Chen. And if I don't? Then you're a witness to a conspiracy, maybe an accessory, depending on how our lawyers want to spin it. Chen's voice wasn't threatening, just factual, like she was explaining math. Or you end up collateral damage when Viviana makes her move. Either way, your $50,000 won't help much. She started walking away, stopped, turned back. One more thing, Chen said. Whatever you think you know about Lucien Moretti, you're wrong. He's not some misunderstood anti-hero. He's killed people, dozens, maybe hundreds, ruined families, destroyed lives. Don't let one night at a gala make you forget what he actually is. Then she was gone, jogging away like she'd just finished a casual morning run and not just detonated Celine's entire understanding of the last 48 hours. Celine sat on the bench, card in her hand, phone buzzing with a text from Jessica asking where the hell she was. Everything Chen said made sense. The convenient timing, the perfect resolution, the way Viviana had orchestrated every moment of last night like conducting a symphony. But something else nagged at her. Something about the way Chen had delivered that final warning. Too rehearsed, too clean, like she'd practiced it. Celine pulled out her phone, Googled FBI agent Sarah Chen, New York. Nothing. Searched the FBI's public directory. No Sarah Chen in the New York field office. Tried LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Found 17 Sarah Chens, but none that matched the woman who'd just walked away. Either Chen was deep undercover and had scrubbed her digital footprint completely, or she wasn't FBI at all. Celine's phone rang. Unknown number. Different from last night. She answered. Hello? Where are you? Viviana's voice, sharp. Out. Getting coffee. At Pier 17? Celine's blood went cold. How did you... We track everyone who enters Mr. Moretti's orbit for security. A pause. Who are you meeting? Nobody. I came to think. Interesting choice of location for thinking. Very public. Very exposed. Almost like you were meeting someone you didn't want traced back to a specific building or address. Celine stood, started walking, didn't know where. Just away. I needed air. The woman you sat with, dark hair, running clothes. We have her on surveillance. Who is she? I don't know. She asked for directions and sat down to check her phone. Silence on the line, long enough that Celine could hear her own heartbeat. Come to the office, Viviana finally said. Now. We need to discuss your future employment. I thought my job was done. Plans change. The car will be at Pier 17 in 8 minutes. Be there. The line went dead. Celine looked around. The pier suddenly felt full of eyes. That jogger who'd passed twice. The food cart vendor who wasn't setting up his cart. The maintenance worker who wasn't actually maintaining anything. They were watching, had been watching the whole time. The black Mercedes appeared 6 minutes later, door already open, Viviana sitting inside like a spider waiting for the web to deliver. Celine got in because what else could she do? Run? Disappear into a city that Lucien Moretti apparently owned enough of to track her every movement. The door closed. Locks engaged. Viviana studied her with those cold, calculating eyes. You're either very brave or very stupid. I still haven't decided which. People keep saying that. Because it's true. Viviana's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned. We have a problem. Just one? Anthony escaped custody 4 hours ago. Federal transport. 3 agents dead. The vehicle was found burning in Newark. Celine felt sick. He didn't kill anyone. He was killed. Made to look like an escape. Sloppy work, but effective. Viviana looked out the window. Someone's cleaning up loose ends. Someone who doesn't want Anthony talking about what really happened last night. Who would want that? Viviana's smile was ice. That's what you're going to help us find out. The car drove through Manhattan. Different route than before. Through neighborhoods Celine didn't recognize. Buildings that looked abandoned, but probably weren't. The kind of real estate that existed in legal gray areas. They pulled into an underground garage, not the luxury high-rise from before. This was industrial. Concrete and metal and the smell of old oil. The elevator descended instead of rising. Celine's stomach knotted. Where are we going? Somewhere we can talk without surveillance. Whose surveillance? Viviana didn't answer. The elevator opened to a basement level that looked like it belonged in a different century. Brick walls, exposed pipes, lighting that cast more shadows than illumination. Lucien was waiting. He'd changed. No suit, just black pants and a t-shirt that showed arms more muscular than the expensive clothes suggested. He looked tired. Actually tired. Like he'd been awake as long as Celine had. Leave us, he said to Viviana. For a moment, Viviana looked like she might argue. Then she nodded and disappeared back into the elevator. Celine and Lucien stood in the shadowy basement, silence between them heavy as lead. You met with someone, he finally said. Not a question. A woman at the pier. She claimed to be FBI. What did she want? To warn me. Said last night was theater, that I'm being used. Celine met his eyes. Is that true? Lucien walked to a table against the wall, poured whiskey from a bottle that looked like it had been there for years, drank, poured another glass, offered it to her. She took it, didn't drink. Last night was more complicated than I told you, he said. The raid was real, the arrests were real, but the intelligence that triggered it came from inside my organization. Someone wanted those warehouses hit, wanted Anthony in custody, wanted me distracted. Viviana said he escaped, that he's dead. He is dead. I saw the photos. Lucien's jaw tightened. But he didn't escape. He was executed, made to look like an escape to cover up who actually killed him. Who? Someone who knew exactly how to move him through federal custody. Someone with access to transport schedules and guard rotations. He looked at her. Someone with law enforcement connections. Celine's mind raced. The woman at the pier said Viviana's setting you up, that she's been planning this for years. Viviana has been with me for 3 years. She's been loyal, efficient, and ruthless when needed. If she wanted me dead, I'd already be dead. Unless she wants something worse than you dead, like you destroyed. Lucien set down his glass. What else did this FBI agent tell you? That Viviana's father was Vincent DeLuca, that you killed him 15 years ago. The words landed like stones. Lucien's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Recognition, memory, maybe regret. Vincent DeLuca ran the docks, he said quietly. He was brutal, unpredictable, killed without reason. I took over his territory because someone had to, because people were dying in numbers that made even this business unsustainable. And you killed him. Yes. No justification, no explanation, just the fact. Did you know he had a daughter? No. Lucien picked up his glass again, turned it in the light. But I should have. That's on me. If Viviana is his daughter, then she's had 3 years to kill me and hasn't, which means either she's not who your FBI agent claims, or she's patient enough to wait for something specific. He drank the whiskey. Either way, we need to know which. How? By testing her, pushing until something breaks. He looked at Celine. And you're going to help. I already helped. You paid me. We're done. 50,000 says we're not. His voice was quiet. Dangerous. That money came from my account. Can be withdrawn from yours just as easily, or I can double it. 100,000. Cash. Untraceable. All you have to do is stay close to Viviana. Watch her. Report what you see. You want me to spy on your second-in-command? I want to know if my second-in-command is planning to put a bullet in my head. He moved closer. And before you say no, consider that the FBI, if that woman was actually FBI, now knows you met with me, knows you took money, knows you're involved. Walking away doesn't make you safe. It makes you a loose end for both sides. The basement felt smaller, the shadows deeper. What happens when Viviana finds out I'm watching her? She won't, because you're going to be obvious about it. Nervous, amateur. Give her exactly what she expects from someone out of their depth. Lucien's eyes locked on hers. Make her think you're my spy, while you're actually mine. That's insane. It's survival. He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. This is Elena Costas, federal prosecutor. She was at the gala last night. Your FBI agent didn't mention her, did she? Celine looked at the photo. The woman in the red dress. The one who'd spent all night watching Viviana's phone. No, she said slowly, because Elena is the one actually investigating me, has been for 2 years. If there was a real FBI operation targeting my organization, she'd be running it, not some agent named Sarah Chen who doesn't exist in any database. He pulled up more photos, surveillance images, the woman from the pier, different clothes, different locations, always watching someone. That's not an FBI agent, Lucien said. That's a private investigator named Michelle Reeves. Works for high-end divorce lawyers mostly. Sometimes does corporate espionage. Never worked for any federal agency. Celine's hands were shaking. She set down the untouched whiskey before she dropped it. Why would she lie? Because someone hired her to feed you information, to make you paranoid, to drive a wedge between me and Viviana right when I need her most. He put away his phone. The question is who? Maybe Viviana hired her to make you think there's someone else. Viviana doesn't need to hire private investigators to lie for her. She'd just lie directly. More efficient. The logic was sound, which made it worse. Because if Viviana wasn't behind the fake FBI agent, and Lucien wasn't, then someone else was playing games with all of them. I'm going home, Celine said. Keep your money. Find someone else to navigate whatever psychological warfare this is. She walked toward the elevator. Lucien's voice stopped her. Anthony had a sister, Michelle, 24, pre-med student, works part-time at a hospital in Queens. Celine froze, hand on the elevator button. Anthony wasn't betraying me, Lucien continued. He was being blackmailed. Someone threatened Michelle if he didn't cooperate. He took the fall to protect her. And now he's dead, and Michelle is missing. Celine turned around. Missing how? Didn't show up for her shift yesterday. Apartment looks like she left in a hurry. Phone's off. Credit card's inactive. He met her eyes. She's either dead or being held somewhere. And finding her is the only way we figure out who's actually running this operation. You want me to find a missing girl? I want you to help me find her before whoever took her decides she's no longer useful. Celine's mind flashed to Jessica, her roommate, her friend, the only person in this city who'd helped her without asking for anything back. What if it was Jessica missing? Would she want someone to walk away because it was complicated and dangerous and none of their business? 100,000, Lucien said, plus protection for you and anyone you care about. I'll have men watching your roommate, your building. Anyone who matters to you stays safe while you help me find Michelle. And if we find her and she's already dead, then at least we tried, which is more than anyone else will do for her. The honest answer surprised her. Celine walked back from the elevator. I want the money up front, and I want Jessica moved somewhere safe until this is over. Somewhere your people and Viviana's people and whoever else is involved can't find her. Done. And when it's over, I disappear. New city, new name. Whatever I need to start over somewhere, nobody knows me. Lucien extended his hand. Deal. Celine stared at his hand, at the man offering it, at the choice that wasn't really a choice because both paths led through darkness, and at least this one paid better. She shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, human, still didn't make it feel less like shaking hands with the devil. Viviana's waiting upstairs, Lucien said. She thinks you're here to work for her. Play along. Act nervous. Let her think she's controlling you. What if she actually is? Then we're both dead already. Might as well find out for sure. The elevator ride up felt like ascending from one kind of hell into another. Viviana was in the garage, leaning against the Mercedes, scrolling through her phone like she had all the time in the world. She looked up when Celine emerged. That was a long conversation. He offered me more work. Doing what? Finding Anthony's sister. He thinks she's the key to figuring out who's behind the raids. Viviana's expression didn't change. And you agreed? He offered $100,000. Smart girl, expensive taste. Viviana opened the car door. Get in. We need to establish some ground rules before you go searching for missing girls. Celine got in. Door closed. Locks engaged with that same heavy click that was starting to feel like a countdown timer. Viviana slid in beside her. The driver pulled out of the garage, into afternoon traffic that moved like blood through diseased veins. First rule, Viviana said. Everything you find, you tell me first, before Lucien, before anyone. Why? Because Lucien is brilliant, but he's emotional. He'll act on information before thinking it through. I'm the one who keeps this organization running while he's busy being dramatic. The casual dismissal of Lucien's authority should have been a red flag. Probably was. But Viviana delivered it so smoothly it almost sounded reasonable. Second rule, she continued. If you find Michelle alive, you don't tell her about Anthony. Not yet. We need her cooperative, not hysterical. She deserves to know her brother's dead. She deserves to stay alive, which means staying calm and answering questions. Grief makes people stupid. We can't afford stupid right now. The car turned onto a street Celine didn't recognize, buildings with bars on windows, graffiti in languages she couldn't read. Where are we going? Celine asked. To see the last person who saw Michelle alive, her roommate, girl named Sophie Chen. Celine's stomach dropped. Chen? Taiwanese, pre-law at NYU, works at the same hospital as Michelle. They've been friends since undergrad. Not the same Chen as the fake FBI agent, just a coincidence, probably. The car stopped outside a walk-up that looked like it was held together by expired paint and broken promises. Viviana led Celine upstairs. Third floor. Apartment 3C, knocked twice. A girl answered, early 20s, exhausted. Red eyes like she'd been crying recently. Sophie Chen? Viviana's voice was professional, almost kind. We're looking for Michelle. Can we talk? Sophie's eyes went wide. Are you cops? We're friends of her brother. We're worried about her. The lie came so smooth, Celine almost believed it herself. Sophie let them in. The apartment was small, clean. Typical student housing, photos on the walls, textbooks stacked everywhere. The kind of space that said these girls were working hard to build futures that probably wouldn't include any of this. When did you last see Michelle? Viviana asked. 2 days ago. She came home from her shift at like 3 a.m., packed a bag, said she had to go somewhere, wouldn't tell me where. Sophie's voice cracked. She was scared. I'd never seen her scared before. Did she say why? No. Just that someone called her, told her to come alone, or Anthony would... She stopped. Is Anthony okay? Silence filled the apartment. Viviana's expression softened in a way that looked almost genuine. Anthony's dead, Sophie. I'm sorry. Sophie collapsed into a chair, started sobbing, big racking sounds that shook her whole body. Celine wanted to comfort her, wanted to lie and say everything would be okay. But Viviana was already kneeling beside Sophie, playing the concerned friend perfectly. Did Michelle say anything else? Viviana asked gently. Anything about where she was going or who called? Sophie shook her head. Just that she had to go, that it was the only way to keep Anthony safe. More tears. She didn't even take her phone, left it here, said they'd track it. Can we see her room? Sophie nodded, pointed down the hall. Michelle's room was modest. Bed, desk, medical textbooks, photos of her and Anthony as kids, smiling, happy. Before the world taught them that happiness was temporary and survival was expensive, Viviana searched methodically. Drawers, closet, under the mattress. She moved like someone who'd done this before. Many times. Finding things people thought they'd hidden. She pulled out a notebook from under a stack of papers on the desk. Flipped through it. Stopped at a page filled with numbers. What is that? Celine asked. Account numbers, offshore, and routing codes. Viviana's voice was flat. Michelle was tracking money. Anthony's money? Someone's money. Large amounts. Moving through shell corporations. She took photos of the pages with her phone. This is more than a scared girl protecting her brother. This is evidence of something bigger. She kept searching, found a burner phone taped to the back of the desk, powered it on. No contacts. But a text thread with a number Michelle had labeled simply V. Viviana's face went pale. What? Celine moved closer. The messages were brief, clinical. V, your brother's safe if you cooperate. Michelle, what do you want? V, information about the money. Where it goes, who receives it. Michelle, I don't know anything. V, then find out, or Anthony pays for your ignorance. The last message was timestamped 2 days ago. Michelle, I have what you want. Where do we meet? No response. Viviana stared at the phone like it might explode. This doesn't make sense. Why not? Because V is... She stopped, looked at Celine. We need to leave. Now. You know who V is. Get in the car. Viviana's tone left no room for argument. They left Sophie crying in her apartment, rushed down the stairs. The Mercedes was waiting, engine already running. They got in. The driver pulled away fast. Too fast. Where are we going? Celine asked. Somewhere safe while I figure out what the hell is happening. Who's V? Viviana didn't answer, just stared out the window. Phone in her hand, fingers moving across the screen typing messages Celine couldn't see. Her phone buzzed. She read something. Her expression shifted into something that might have been fear. Change of plans, she told the driver. The warehouse on 9th. That's not secure, the driver said. Now. The car changed direction, headed toward the industrial district. Buildings that looked abandoned, streets nobody walked unless they had to. Celine's phone buzzed. Text from Lucien, where are you? She typed back. With Viviana, found something at Michelle's apartment. Before she could send it, Viviana grabbed her phone, looked at the unsent message, deleted it. No contact with Lucien until I say so. He's your boss. He's compromised. Someone's feeding him information designed to make him paranoid, make him turn on me. I need to know who before this whole operation collapses. Operation to do what? Viviana finally looked at her. To destroy the people who killed my father. The admission landed like a bomb. Vincent DeLuca, Celine said. You know. Your fake FBI agent told me. She's not my agent. I don't know who the hell she is. Viviana leaned forward. But someone wants you to believe I'm the villain here. Wants Lucien to believe it. Wants everyone looking at me while they make their real move. The car stopped. They were in front of a warehouse that looked like it hadn't been used for anything legal in decades. Inside, Viviana said, we need to talk somewhere nobody's listening. Celine followed her into the building, through corridors that smelled like rust and rot, upstairs that creaked under their weight, into a room on the second floor with windows that overlooked the street. Viviana pulled out a laptop from a bag Celine hadn't noticed her carrying, opened it, started typing. Michelle was working for someone, Viviana said, tracking money that's been disappearing from Lucien's accounts for months. Small amounts, spread across enough transactions that it looked like accounting errors, but it adds up to millions. She pulled up spreadsheets, account numbers, transaction records, a pattern emerging from chaos. Who's taking it? Celine asked. Celine, that's what I've been trying to figure out. The money flows through shell companies, gets cleaned, redistributed, ends up in accounts I can't trace. Could it be someone inside the organization? It has to be. Only 4 people have access to these accounts. Me, Lucien, Marcus, and... She stopped. And who? Elena Costas. The name hung in the air like poison. The federal prosecutor? Celine asked. Who isn't actually prosecuting anything? Who's been investigating Lucien for 2 years without filing a single charge? Who was at the gala last night watching me specifically? Viviana's hands were shaking slightly. She's not building a case. She's building a fortune, using Lucien's operation as her personal bank while making everyone think she's the law. Celine's mind raced. If she has access to the accounts, she can move money, plant evidence, make it look like anyone she wants is stealing, like me, like Lucien, like anyone who might figure out what she's doing. Why not just take all of it and disappear? Because the real prize isn't the money, it's the empire. Elena's been systematically documenting every operation, every route, every contact, not to prosecute, to take over. Once Lucien's removed, she steps in with complete knowledge of how everything works. Viviana pulled up more files, photos, surveillance images. Elena meeting with men Celine didn't recognize, exchanging packages, shaking hands in places that weren't federal buildings. I've been tracking her for 6 months, Viviana said, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment to expose her. But she moved first, used Michelle and Anthony to distract us, created chaos to cover her final play. Which is? Viviana met her eyes. To kill Lucien tonight, frame me for it, and take over everything while the organization's in chaos. The words should have sounded insane. Instead, they sounded terrifyingly plausible. How do you know this? Because I found her communications with a contract killer, former military, expensive, discreet. He's already in the city, already has access to Lucien's building, probably being let in by someone on the security team Elena's paid off. She pulled up a photo. A man. 40s. Forgettable face. The kind of person you'd pass on the street and never remember. His name is Dmitry Volkov, Russian, former Spetsnaz. 37 confirmed kills across 4 continents. He doesn't miss, and he doesn't leave witnesses. Celine felt cold. You have to warn Lucien. I tried. He won't answer. Someone got to him first, probably told him I'm the threat, told him to avoid me until they can extract him safely. Viviana's voice was bitter, which means he's walking right into her trap. Then we go to the police and tell them what? That a federal prosecutor is secretly running a criminal empire? With what evidence? Screenshots that could be faked? Surveillance photos that prove nothing? By the time anyone believes us, Lucien's dead and Elena's story is the only one that matters. Viviana closed the laptop, looked at Celine with eyes that were fierce and desperate and human in a way Celine hadn't seen before. I need your help, she said quietly. Not as someone I'm paying, as someone who might actually believe me. Why would I believe you? Because you're smart enough to know that if I wanted Lucien dead, he'd be dead already. I've had 3 years of opportunities. 3 years to put a bullet in his head or poison his drink or arrange an accident that nobody would question. Her voice cracked slightly. My father was a monster. Lucien was right to kill him. I've spent 3 years trying to be better than both of them, trying to build something legitimate out of this empire. And Elena's about to destroy all of it for her own profit. The confession hung in the dusty air. Celine looked at this woman who'd terrified her, this perfectly controlled operations director who suddenly looked exhausted and scared and desperately human. What do you need me to do? Celine asked. Viviana pulled out a phone, dialed, put it on speaker. It rang 4 times. Then Lucien's voice. Who is this? It's Viviana. Don't hang up, please. Silence. Celine's with me, Viviana continued. She'll verify what I'm about to tell you. Elena Costas is trying to kill you tonight. We have evidence. We can prove it, but you need to listen. The line went dead. Viviana tried again, straight to voicemail. He blocked me. She looked like she might break something. Someone convinced him I'm the threat. Celine pulled out her own phone, called Lucien. He answered on the first ring. Are you safe? I'm with Viviana. She says, Get away from her, now. She's not who you think she is. Lucien, listen. There's a car 3 blocks from your location. Black SUV. My people. They'll get you somewhere safe. She showed me evidence. Elena Costas is... Elena's been helping me build a case against Viviana for months. Everything Viviana told you is designed to make you doubt the truth. His voice was hard. She's been stealing from me, setting up operations to make me look guilty, planning to kill me and take over. Elena discovered it. That's why Viviana wants you to distrust her. Celine looked at Viviana, at the desperation in her eyes, at the evidence on the laptop that could be real or could be brilliantly faked. 2 stories, both convincing, both delivered by people who had every reason to lie. Lucien, Celine said slowly, how did Elena get access to your accounts? Pause. What? Viviana said only 4 people have access. You, her, Marcus, and Elena. Why would a federal prosecutor have access to your financial accounts? Longer pause. That's not... She doesn't have direct access. She's been investigating them. Then how is she helping you build a case if she can't see the actual transactions? Silence on the line. Lucien? Celine's heart was pounding. How does Elena know what Viviana's stealing if she can't access the accounts to verify it? I gave her read-only access to help her... When? 6 months ago. She said she needed it to protect me, to build a legitimate case. Viviana was staring at Celine, barely breathing. And you believed her? Celine asked. You let a federal prosecutor into your financial records and just trusted she wouldn't use it against you. She's been investigated herself. Cleared. She has too much to lose, or too much to gain. Celine closed her eyes. Lucien, think. 6 months ago is exactly when money started disappearing. Viviana's been tracking it. Michelle was tracking it. They both pointed to the same thing, someone with access using it to steal while making it look like someone else. The silence that followed felt like the world holding its breath. Then Lucien's voice, quieter now. Where are you exactly? Viviana grabbed the phone. The warehouse on 9th in Amsterdam. The one we used for the Brooklyn shipments last year. Lucien, Elena's sending someone to kill you tonight. We have proof. But you need to come here first, see it yourself, before you make any decisions you can't take back. If you're lying to me, then I'm dead anyway. What do I gain from lying now? Another pause. Then, I'm coming. 20 minutes. If this is a setup, it's not. I swear on my father's grave. Whatever you think of him, you know I wouldn't swear on that lightly. Lucien hung up. Viviana set down the phone. Her hands were shaking. He's either coming to hear us out, she said quietly, or he's coming to kill me. Celine walked to the window, looked out at the empty street, the city beyond it. The life she'd had 3 days ago that felt like a different universe. If you're lying, she said to Viviana, if this is all some elaborate manipulation, then you'll know soon enough. And you can watch him put a bullet in my head and walk away with a clean conscience. And if Elena really is behind this, then we have maybe 3 hours before she realizes Her plan is compromised and accelerates everything, which means people start dying faster than we can stop them. The warehouse creaked in the wind, old metal settling, or something moving in the shadows. Hard to tell. Celine checked her phone, texted Jessica. "Stay at your mom's tonight. Don't come home. I'll explain later." Jessica responded immediately. "You're scaring me." "Good. Be scared. Just stay away from the apartment." She pocketed her phone, looked at Viviana. "Show me everything. Every piece of evidence. Every communication. I need to see it all before Lucien gets here." Viviana opened the laptop again. For the next 15 minutes, Celine absorbed information that painted a picture of corruption so deep it made her head spin. Account transfers, encrypted messages, photos of Elena meeting with known criminals, documentation of evidence Elena had supposedly lost that would have exonerated people Lucien's organization needed to keep quiet. It was either the most thorough frame job Celine had ever seen, or Elena Costas was exactly what Viviana claimed, a predator hiding behind a badge. "Why Anthony?" Celine asked. "Why target him specifically?" "Because he was low-level enough that losing him wouldn't cripple operations, but trusted enough that his betrayal would hurt Lucien personally, make him paranoid, start him questioning everyone around him." Viviana pulled up more files. Elena needed chaos, needed Lucien's inner circle fractured. Anthony was the perfect sacrifice. And Michelle? Witnessed something she shouldn't have, probably saw Elena with money or documents, started tracking it, had to be silenced before she put the pieces together. Footsteps on the stairs. Both women froze. Viviana closed the laptop, pulled a gun from her jacket, held it low, ready. The door opened. Lucien entered, alone. Gun already drawn, eyes hard as winter. He looked at Viviana, at Celine, back to Viviana. "Talk," he said. Fast. Viviana set her gun on the floor, kicked it toward him, hands up, open, vulnerable. "Elena Costas has been stealing from you for 6 months, using her access to your accounts to siphon millions. She killed Anthony to cover her tracks and took Michelle to ensure silence. And tonight, she's sending Dmitry Volkov to kill you and frame me for it. Everything's in this laptop. Look for yourself." Lucien kept his gun trained on her. "Or this is the moment you've been waiting for. Get me alone. Feed me a story. Kill me while my guard's down. If I wanted you dead, I'd have done it when you walked through that door. You came alone like an idiot. I have a gun within reach. You'd be bleeding out already." The brutal honesty seemed to register. Lucien lowered his weapon slightly. "Show me." Viviana opened the laptop, turned it toward him. He read, scrolled, his expression shifting from suspicion to confusion to something that looked like horror. "This can't be real," he said. "Elena's been vetted, investigated, cleared by people she's paid to clear her, or blackmailed into silence." Viviana pulled up more files. "She's been building this for years. Long before I came to work for you, she's patient, methodical, and she's been using your organization as her personal criminal empire while maintaining her cover as the prosecutor hunting you." Lucien stared at the screen, at evidence that either condemned him to paranoia forever or revealed a betrayal that would reshape everything he thought he knew. "Where's Michelle?" he asked quietly. "I don't know. But if she's still alive, Elena's keeping her somewhere she can use her, either as leverage or as a witness to frame someone else." Celine's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. She opened it. A photo. Michelle. Alive. Tied to a chair. Bruised but breathing. Then a message. "You have 2 hours to deliver Lucien Moretti to Pier 17, alone. Or Michelle dies, and tomorrow every news outlet in the country receives evidence of his crimes compiled by a very credible federal prosecutor. Your choice." Celine showed the phone to Lucien. His face went blank. The kind of blank that meant every emotion had been locked in a vault while he calculated outcomes. "It's a trap," Viviana said. "Obviously." Lucien pulled out his own phone, started typing. "But it's also our only chance to find Michelle and end this. You can't actually go." "I can and I will, but not alone. And not unprepared." He finished typing, looked at both of them. "Elena thinks she's in control, thinks she can dictate terms. Let's show her what happens when she underestimates the people she's been manipulating." Celine felt something shift. the fear transforming into something else, something sharp and focused. "What's the play?" she asked. Lucien smiled. It wasn't warm. It was the smile of a man who'd built an empire on being smarter and more ruthless than everyone else. "We give her exactly what she wants," he said, "and then we burn her world to the ground." The plan was simple in the way that plans involving walking into obvious traps while armed strangers held a hostage were simple, which meant it wasn't simple at all. It was suicide dressed up as strategy. Lucien laid it out in the warehouse like he was explaining a business acquisition and not orchestrating a scenario where multiple people would probably die. Elena expects me alone, compliant, scared. She gets me with a wire. Full confession. Michelle is leverage. Clean arrest that makes her look like a hero while she quietly takes over operations. "So we don't give her that," Viviana said. "We give her theater. I show up alone, wired for sound, but our sound, our recording. Every word she says gets documented and transmitted to 3 separate locations." He pulled up a map on his phone. Pier 17, the Hudson stretching dark and cold beyond it. "Celine, you're inside the crowd, tourist with a phone, recording everything. Viviana, you're in the vehicle-coordinated strike position with Marcus and the team. Anyone moves on me, you move on them." Celine's stomach was ice. "And Michelle?" "Elena won't kill her until she has me. Michelle's her insurance. Once I'm there, she'll bring her out. That's when we make the grab." "What if she doesn't bring Michelle?" Celine asked. "What if it's just a photo and Michelle's already dead?" Lucien's jaw tightened. "Then we make Elena tell us where the body is before Viviana puts a bullet between her eyes." The casual brutality of it should have shocked Celine. Instead, it just felt inevitable, like gravity, like the natural conclusion to a system built on violence and power. "We have 90 minutes, Viviana said, checking her watch. "I need to coordinate the team. Get weapons. Position vehicles. Do it." "And Viviana?" Lucien waited until she looked at him. "If this goes wrong, if Elena actually has something on me that puts me away forever, don't try to save me. Just run. Get out of the city and don't look back." Something passed between them. An understanding forged in 3 years of working in darkness together. Not quite friendship, not quite trust, but something close enough that it mattered. "If you die tonight," Viviana said quietly, "I'm taking Elena with me. That's not negotiable." Lucien almost smiled. Wouldn't expect anything less. Viviana left, the warehouse door closing behind her with a sound like a coffin lid. Celine and Lucien stood in the dusty room. City sounds filtering through broken windows, sirens, traffic, the ordinary noise of people living ordinary lives while 3 floors above them 2 people planned violence. "You don't have to do this," Lucien said. "The recording part, being there. It's dangerous, and you've already done more than I had any right to ask." "Michelle's 24 years old, pre-med, her whole life ahead of her." Celine met his eyes. "If there's a chance to get her out alive, I'm taking it." "Why? You don't know her." "Because someone should care what happens to her. And apparently that someone is me now." Lucien looked at her for a long moment, like he was trying to figure out a puzzle that didn't have pieces that fit together properly. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone easier to manipulate. Someone who'd take the money and not ask questions." "Disappointed?" "No." He said it simply, honestly. The opposite. Celine felt something shift in the space between them. Something that felt dangerous in a completely different way than guns and federal prosecutors and missing girls. She pushed it down. Buried it. This wasn't the time for whatever this was. "We should go," she said. 90 minutes isn't much." They left the warehouse in separate cars. Lucien in the Mercedes. Celine in a nondescript sedan driven by one of Lucien's people. A man named Chen who didn't talk and didn't ask questions and drove like he'd done this exact route 100 times before. The city slid past the windows. Transition from industrial wasteland to gentrified neighborhoods to the glittering excess of downtown. Every block, a different version of New York. Every street hiding 1,000 stories that would never get told. Celine's phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. "At Mom's. She says hi. What's going on? Work emergency. I'll explain tomorrow. Love you. Love you too. Be safe." Safe. The word felt like a foreign language. Chen dropped her 3 blocks from Pier 17, handed her a phone. Camera's already set to record, just point and shoot. Audio's good up to 30 feet. Don't get closer than that unless you have to. And if things go wrong, run. We can't protect you if you're in the crossfire. Comforting. Celine took the phone. Got out. The night air hit her face cold and sharp. Smell of the river, salt and fish and pollution. The kind of smell that reminded you the city was built on water, and sometimes the water wanted it back. She walked toward the pier, dressed like a tourist. Jeans, jacket, sneakers that could run if needed. Hair pulled back, makeup minimal. Nothing that would draw attention or stick in memory. The pier was moderately crowded. Evening joggers, couples holding hands, a street performer doing magic tricks for spare change. Normal people doing normal things while 50 yards away someone was about to get arrested or killed or both. Celine found a bench with good sightlines. Sat, pulled out the phone. Pretended to scroll social media while actually scanning faces. Looking for Elena. Looking for Michelle. Looking for anyone who looked like they were about to commit violence. 7:45, 15 minutes until the meet. A black SUV pulled up to the north entrance. Tinted windows. Engine running. Celine couldn't see inside but felt eyes watching. Probably Viviana and the team. Position. Ready. 7:50. Lucien arrived on foot. Walking casual, hands in pockets. Looking like any wealthy businessman taking an evening stroll. But Celine could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes tracked every movement, every shadow. He walked to the end of the pier, stood looking out at the water, waiting. 7:55. A woman approached from the south. Professional, confident, dark pantsuit, hair pulled back severe. Even from 30 yards away, Celine recognized her from the photos. Elena Costas, federal prosecutor, criminal, predator in government clothing. She walked right up to Lucien, stood beside him, both of them looking out at the Hudson like they were discussing the weather instead of empires and murder. Celine lifted the phone, started recording, zoomed in just enough to get faces. Audio would be rough with the water and wind, but maybe enough. "You came," Elena said. Her voice carried over the ambient noise, clear, controlled. "You have Michelle. I want to see her. And you'll get to, after we talk." "About what?" "About how this ends." Elena turned to face him. "You've been smart, Lucien. Smarter than most. Built an empire while keeping your hands relatively clean, but empires require foundations, and yours is crumbling." "Because you've been sabotaging it," Elena smiled. "Because you trusted the wrong people. Viviana, Marcus, even this new girl you've been dragging around, they're all liabilities. And you're offering to help me identify them? How generous." "I'm offering you a choice. Work with me. Legitimize your operations through channels I control. Pay a reasonable percentage for protection and oversight, or refuse and watch everything you built burn while you rot in a federal prison." Lucien's laugh was cold. "You want a partnership. I want efficiency. You're good at what you do. I'm good at what I do. Together we could control this city in ways neither of us could alone. And Michelle goes free, unharmed, as soon as you agree." Celine's hands were shaking. She gripped the phone tighter, kept recording, every word, every gesture. "Where is she?" Lucien asked. Elena pulled out her phone, typed something. 30 seconds later, a van pulled up near the south entrance. Side door opened. Michelle was inside. Tied, gagged, but alive, eyes wide with terror. 2 men stood beside her, armed, ready. "There's your proof of life," Elena said. "Now, do we have a deal?" Lucien stared at the van, at Michelle, his expression unreadable. "You've been planning this for years," he said quietly. "The investigation that went nowhere, the access to my accounts, setting up Viviana to take the fall. Very thorough. I'm good at my job." "Both of them, apparently." Elena's smile sharpened. "So?" Lucien pulled out his phone. "I need to make a call first. Let Viviana know the situation." "No calls." "Then no deal. She's my operations director. She needs to know about organizational changes." Elena considered, nodded. "Speakerphone, so I can hear." Lucien dialed, put it on speaker. It rang twice. Viviana's voice. "Status?" "We have a situation. Elena's here. She's proposing a partnership. I need you to stand down the team. Silence on the line. Then, are you serious? Completely. Pull everyone back. Let me handle this. Lucien, if you're making a deal with her, I'm making the smart choice. The one that keeps people alive, including Michelle. Stand down. That's an order. More silence. Then Viviana's voice, tight with something that might have been anger or fear or both. Understood. Standing down. The line went dead. Elena looked satisfied. Smart man. I have my moments. Lucien pocketed his phone. Now, let Michelle go and we can discuss terms properly. Michelle goes when I have your signature on a document that makes this official. Legally binding. Can't have you changing your mind later. She pulled a folder from her jacket. Unfolded papers. A contract. Actual legal language detailing a partnership between Lucien Moretti and Elena Costas for the purposes of security consultation and operational oversight. It would have been funny if it wasn't terrifying. Sign this, Elena said, producing a pen. And she walks free. You refuse, I make one call, and Michelle disappears forever while you get arrested on charges that will put you away for life. Lucien took the pen, looked at the contract, at Elena, at the van where Michelle sat tied and terrified. If I sign this, you own me. I own you already. This just makes it official. He put pen to paper. That's when everything went wrong. The gunshot came from somewhere behind Celine. Single shot. Clean. Professional. One of the armed men beside Michelle dropped, head snapping back, dead before he hit the ground. Elena spun, gun appearing in her hand like magic, screaming into a radio Celine hadn't seen. Contact north position! Move now! The second-armed man grabbed Michelle, started dragging her back into the van. Lucien lunged forward. Elena fired. The bullet caught him in the shoulder, spun him sideways. The pier erupted into chaos. People screaming, running. The street performer abandoning his tricks and sprinting for cover. Celine dropped flat behind the bench. Phone still recording, capturing everything. The panic. The violence. The way everything they'd planned disintegrated in seconds. More gunfire. Automatic weapons. The black SUV that had been waiting roared to life, Viviana's voice over a loudspeaker. Federal agents, stand down! Stand down now! But Elena wasn't federal. Her people weren't agents. They were private contractors, mercenaries. And they opened fire on the SUV with everything they had. Glass shattered, metal punctured. The SUV swerved, crashed into a barrier. Celine saw Viviana stumble out. Blood on her face, gun in hand, firing back at shadows. The van with Michelle started moving, pulling away from the pier. Lucien was on the ground, clutching his shoulder, blood between his fingers. He looked up, found Celine's eyes across the distance, mouthed one word, run. But Celine was already moving, not away, toward the van, because Michelle was in there, and if that van disappeared, she was dead or worse, and nobody else seemed to be in position to stop it. She ran, full sprint, phone still recording in her hand like some kind of insurance policy against her own stupidity. The van door was still open. Michelle inside. New armed man at the wheel, starting to accelerate. Celine jumped, grabbed the door frame, pulled herself up and inside with strength born from pure adrenaline and desperation. The driver turned, eyes wide, started reaching for his weapon. Celine slammed the phone into his face, screen cracking, his nose breaking, blood spray. He lost control. The van swerved, hit a light post, metal screaming. Celine thrown forward, Michelle screaming through the gag. The van stopped, engine dead, windshield cracked into spiderweb patterns. Celine pulled herself up. Everything hurt, probably had broken ribs or worse. Didn't matter. She crawled to Michelle, started working on the ropes. It's okay, she said, fingers fumbling with knots. You're okay. I've got you. Michelle was crying, shaking, but alive. The ropes came loose. Celine pulled the gag free. Where's Anthony? Michelle's first words. Not about herself. About her brother. Celine's heart broke. We need to go, now. I'll explain everything, but we have to move. She hauled Michelle toward the door. They stumbled out. The driver was unconscious, bleeding. The pier was war zone. Gunfire still echoing, bodies on the ground. Couldn't tell who was alive and who wasn't. A hand grabbed Celine's arm. She spun, ready to fight. Viviana, face covered in blood from a gash on her forehead, eyes wild. Get her out of here, both of you. Now! Where's Lucien? Pinned down. Elena has him. Go. I'm not leaving. You want to save him? Then get Michelle somewhere safe and get that recording to the media. Every news station. Every website. Make Elena toxic. It's the only leverage we have. Viviana pressed car keys into Celine's hand, pointed at a sedan 30 yards away. Gray Honda, go. Don't stop until you're out of the city. She turned and ran back toward the firefight, gun raised, disappearing into smoke and darkness. Celine grabbed Michelle's hand. They ran, stumbling. Michelle barefoot and terrified. Celine half blind with adrenaline and fear. They made it to the Honda. Celine fumbled with the keys, hands shaking so hard she could barely get them in the ignition. The engine started. She pulled out. Tires squealing. Drove away from the pier, from the gunfire, from Lucien bleeding on the ground, and Viviana charging back into hell. Michelle was sobbing in the passenger seat. What's happening? Where's Anthony? Why won't you tell me about Anthony? Celine couldn't answer, could barely see through the tears that suddenly blurred her vision. She drove. Through red lights, through intersections, not caring about traffic laws or safety, just distance, just away. Her phone buzzed, the cracked recording phone, still somehow functional, text from an unknown number. She opened it while driving. Stupid, dangerous, didn't care. A photo. Lucien, on his knees. Elena behind him, gun to his head. Then the message, you have the recording, I have him. Bring it to the address below in 1 hour, or watch him die on live television. Come alone, or he dies. Tell anyone, or he dies. Try anything clever, or he dies. You have 59 minutes. An address in Brooklyn. Warehouse District, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry and bodies could disappear. Celine pulled over, hands gripping the wheel so hard her knuckles went white. Michelle was staring at her. What is it? I need you to listen very carefully, Celine said. Her voice sounded distant, like someone else was talking. I'm going to drop you somewhere safe. Give you this phone. You're going to send the recording to every media contact you can find. News stations, papers, online journalists. Everyone. Can you do that? I don't understand what's... Can you do it? Yes or no? Michelle nodded, still crying but focused. Yes. Good. Because if I don't come back, that recording is the only thing that proves what Elena did, what she is. It's the only justice you or Anthony or any of us are going to get. Come back from where? What are you doing? Celine didn't answer, just drove, heading for the address Elena had sent. Toward another trap, another scenario where she was probably going to die. But Lucien was alive. For now. And if there was a chance to keep him that way, Celine was going to take it, even if it killed her. She dropped Michelle at a 24-hour diner in Queens, gave her the phone, $200 cash from the center console, instructions to wait 2 hours, and if Celine didn't call, send the recording and disappear. Michelle grabbed her hand. Who are you? Someone who made a lot of bad choices very quickly. Celine pulled away. 2 hours. Then send everything. She got back in the car, drove toward Brooklyn, toward the address, toward whatever was waiting. The warehouse was exactly what she expected. Abandoned, dark. Industrial complex that had stopped being useful to anyone legitimate years ago. Celine parked outside, checked the glove compartment, found a gun. Small. Probably wouldn't stop anyone serious, but made her feel slightly less helpless. She got out, walked toward the entrance. Door was open, waiting. Inside was darkness and the smell of old machinery. Her footsteps echoed on concrete. She walked deeper, following the only light source. A room at the back. Elena was waiting. Lucien was there, still alive, still bleeding, tied to a chair, duct tape over his mouth, eyes furious. 2 men stood behind him, armed, professional. The kind of people who killed for money and slept fine afterward. Elena smiled when Celine entered. You actually came. Interesting. Most people would have run. Most people aren't stupid enough to make the choices I've made this week. True. Elena gestured at Lucien. He's alive, as promised. Now give me the phone and you both walk out of here. The recording's already gone, sent to multiple locations, uploading to cloud servers. Even if you kill us both, it's out there. Elena's smile didn't falter. No, it's not. Because if it was, I'd already be getting calls from my superiors. Already see it trending online. And I'm not. Which means you're bluffing. Celine's stomach dropped. Because Elena was right. Michelle had the phone. But Michelle hadn't sent anything yet. Was waiting for Celine's call or the 2-hour deadline. And Elena knew it. You're smart, Elena said. Smarter than I gave you credit for. But not smart enough. You came here thinking you could trade yourself for him. Play the hero. But you don't understand how this works. She walked closer, gun loose in her hand, casual. Like this was a conversation and not a prelude to murder. I don't need the recording, Elena continued. It's your word against mine. A federal prosecutor with a perfect record versus a waitress with a criminal history who's been sleeping with a known crime boss. Who do you think people will believe? I haven't slept with... Celine stopped. You've been watching me. This whole time. Since the moment Lucien brought you into his world. Every conversation, every meeting, building a profile, making sure I knew exactly how to use you when the time came. The pieces fell into place. The fake FBI agent, the convenient timing, the way everything had been orchestrated to put Celine exactly where Elena wanted her. You sent Michelle that message, Celine said, the one that got her running. You made her think she was protecting Anthony, but you were really isolating her, making her desperate enough to track the money, to gather evidence you could later claim she fabricated. Very good. Yes, Michelle's thorough. Made perfect documentation of the money trail, which I'll now use to prosecute Lucien while positioning myself as the hero who brought him down. Elena's eyes were cold. Anthony died protecting her. Lucien dies because of her. Poetic. Lucien was making sounds behind the duct tape, thrashing against the restraints, the chair creaking. And me? Celine asked. Where do I fit? You're the tragic victim. The girl who got caught up in something too big for her. Killed trying to escape. Your body found at the scene. Evidence of Lucien's brutality. Makes the case against him even stronger. Elena raised her gun, pointed it at Celine's chest. Nothing personal, she said. You were just in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong skill set. Celine's hand moved toward the gun in her jacket. Too slow. Elena was faster. The shot rang out, but the bullet didn't hit Celine. Elena staggered, red bloom spreading across her shoulder, gun dropping from her hand. Behind her, one of the armed men lowered his weapon. The other turned, confused. The shooter pulled off his mask. Marcus. Lucien's man. The one who'd been nervous at the gala, who'd checked his watch 17 times. Sorry, boss, he said, looking at Lucien. Took longer than expected to get into position. The second-armed man raised his gun. Marcus shot him. Clean. Professional. The body dropped. Elena was on the floor, clutching her shoulder, blood between her fingers, face contorted with pain and rage. Marcus crossed the room, cut Lucien's restraints, pulled off the tape. Lucien stood, unsteady, still bleeding from his own shoulder wound. He walked to Elena. Looked down at her with an expression Celine couldn't read. You almost had me, he said quietly. The perfect plan, the perfect manipulation. Almost. You can't prove anything, Elena spat, blood on her lips. My people will bury you. Even if that recording surfaces, I have lawyers who'll shred it, experts who'll call it fake. You're done. Lucien picked up her gun, checked the chamber. Maybe, but you made one mistake. What? You underestimated how far people will go to protect someone they care about. He looked at Celine when he said it, then back at Elena. Marcus has been working with Viviana for months since you approached him about flipping on me. He came to her immediately, told her everything, every plan you laid out, every move you wanted him to make. And together they fed you exactly what you wanted to hear while building a case against you that doesn't require recordings or testimony. Elena's face went pale. Bank records, Lucien continued. Routing numbers for every transaction you thought you'd hidden. Communications you thought were encrypted. Meetings you thought were private. All documented by people you never thought to suspect. He pulled out his phone, showed her the screen. Emails. Photos. Spreadsheets. A mountain of evidence. Viviana's been playing you, he said, since the moment you approached Marcus. Since the moment you thought you were recruiting him. She knew. She watched. She waited. and now she has enough to bury you in a prison cell for the rest of your life. Elena tried to speak, coughed blood instead. Marcus pulled out zip ties, secured her hands, pulled her to sitting. Lucienne turned to Celine. You okay? She wasn't. She was shaking and terrified and pretty sure she was going into shock. But she nodded. Michelle? Safe. She has the recording, instructions to send it if I don't contact her. Good. He pulled out his phone, made a call. It's done. Elena's secure. Get the teams here for cleanup. He hung up, looked at Celine, really looked, like he was seeing her for the first time. You jumped into a moving van, he said, for a girl you'd never met. Seemed important at the time. You could have died. Yeah, well, welcome to my week. Something that might have been a laugh escaped him. Then he winced, clutched his shoulder, the adrenaline wearing off, pain setting in. Celine moved to him, helped him sit. The bullet had gone through, clean wound, still bleeding, needed medical attention, but probably not fatal. You're going to need a hospital, she said. We have doctors, ones who don't ask questions. Of course you do. They sat together on the warehouse floor. Blood and sweat and the exhaustion of people who'd survived something they shouldn't have. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. That's not for us, Lucian said. Elena made a lot of enemies, federal agents who've been investigating her for months. They've been waiting for enough evidence. Viviana made sure they got it about an hour ago. Anonymous tip. Complete documentation. By morning, Elena Costas will be the biggest corruption scandal in New York history. And you? I'll be the victim. The business owner she tried to extort. The man who cooperated with federal investigators to bring her down. He met her eyes. You and Michelle will be the heroes, the brave women who risked everything to expose the truth. That's not true. It's true enough, and it's the story that gets you out of this alive. The warehouse door opened. Viviana entered, limping, bandage on her head, but alive. Behind her, medical personnel with stretchers. She looked at Elena, at Lucienne, at Celine. Everyone breathing? She asked. Mostly, Lucian said. Good enough. She pulled out her phone, started typing. Media's already running with preliminary stories. Federal prosecutor under investigation. Corruption allegations. It'll be national by morning, international by tomorrow. She looked at Celine. Michelle sent the recording 30 minutes ago to 17 different news organizations. It's already viral, 4 million views and climbing. You're both famous. Celine felt sick. I don't want to be famous. Too late. But famous beats dead. Viviana knelt beside Lucien, examined his shoulder. You need stitches, probably antibiotics, maybe surgery depending on what the bullet hit. It's fine. It's not fine. You're bleeding on my crime scene. Your crime scene? I'm the one who has to explain this mess to our lawyers. That makes it mine. She looked at the paramedics. Get him out of here. Private clinic on Lexington. They're expecting you. They moved Lucien onto a stretcher. He tried to protest. Viviana gave him a look that could have melted steel. Go. Before you pass out, and make this even more complicated. As they carried him toward the door, he reached for Celine's hand. Thank you. For tonight. For all of it. She squeezed his hand. Don't die in surgery. I've had enough death for 1 week. I'll try. They took him out, leaving Celine and Viviana and Elena and Marcus in the warehouse. Cleaning crew already arriving, making evidence disappear, making the scene look however it needed to look for whatever story they were selling. Viviana walked to Elena, looked down at her, expression unreadable. My father was a monster, she said quietly. Lucien was right to kill him. I spent years hating him for it, years planning revenge. And then I started working for him and realized something. He's not a monster. He's just a man trying to survive in a world that rewards monsters. She crouched down, eye level with Elena. You, though? You're the real thing. You sold justice, corrupted everything you were supposed to protect. And you did it for money. Not survival, not protection, just greed. Elena spat blood at her feet. You're no different. You work for him. You profit from the same. I work to make things better, to transition dirty money into legitimate businesses, to reduce harm. You work to maximize it. Viviana stood. Federal agents will be here in 10 minutes. I suggest you use that time to think about how you want to spend the next 40 years in prison. She turned to Celine. Come on, let's get you somewhere you can fall apart in private. They walked out together, into the night, into a city that suddenly felt different, lighter, like some pressure had been released. A car was waiting. Viviana opened the door. Celine got in. Where are we going? Celine asked. To get Michelle, then to a hotel where you can both sleep without worrying about someone trying to kill you. And after that, Viviana was quiet for a moment. After that, you make a choice. Walk away. Take your money. Start over somewhere nobody knows your face. Or stay. Help us build something better than what we've had. Stay and do what? Whatever you want. Lucian's going to need people he can trust while he rebuilds. People who aren't afraid to tell him when he's wrong. People who jump into moving vans for strangers. Celine leaned back against the seat, exhausted, terrified, alive. Can I decide after I sleep for about 3 days straight? You can decide whenever you want. Viviana pulled out her phone, showed Celine the balance in her account. $100,000, as promised. That's yours, no matter what you choose. The car drove through Brooklyn, through neighborhoods that were sleeping and neighborhoods that never slept, through a city that contained multitudes. They picked up Michelle at the diner. She was pale, shaking, but alive. The recording had already spread across the internet like wildfire. Her face was on news sites, her name trending. She got in the car, saw Celine, started crying. Anthony's dead, Celine said gently. I'm sorry. He died protecting you, trying to keep you safe. Michelle collapsed against Celine's shoulder, sobbed. The kind of grief that came from losing the only family you had in a world that didn't care about your pain. Celine held her. Let her cry. Because what else could she do? The hotel was nice, actually nice, the kind of place Celine had only seen in magazines. Viviana got them a suite, 2 bedrooms, security at the door. Sleep, she said. I'll be back in the morning to check on you. If you need anything before then, call this number. She left. Celine helped Michelle to one of the bedrooms, got her into bed, still wearing the clothes she'd been kidnapped in, too tired to change. I don't know what to do, Michelle whispered. Without him, without Anthony, I don't know how to exist. You exist the way you did before, 1 minute at a time, 1 breath at a time, until someday it gets easier. Does it get easier? Celine thought about foster care, about losing people, about surviving when survival felt impossible. Eventually, she lied. Michelle fell asleep, still crying. Celine went to her own room, stood in the shower, let hot water wash away blood and dirt and the feeling of almost dying. She stayed there until the water ran cold, then longer, until her skin was numb and her thoughts stopped racing. She dried off, fell into bed, stared at the ceiling. Her phone buzzed, text from Lucien. Surgery went fine. Bullet missed everything important. I'll live. She typed back, Good. I'd hate to have jumped into that van for nothing. You're insane. Takes one to know one. Get some sleep. We'll talk tomorrow. About? Everything. What comes next, what you want, what we can build if you stay. Celine stared at the message, at the possibility it represented, at the choice she'd have to make when morning came, stay or go, safety or purpose, the life she'd planned or the life that had chosen her. She fell asleep before she could decide, and dreamed of moving vans and gunfire and dark eyes that saw through all her defenses to the person underneath. When she woke, the sun was rising over Manhattan, the city glowing gold and red, beautiful and brutal and unforgiving. Her phone was full of notifications, news alerts, messages from Jessica freaking out about seeing Celine's face on television, missed calls from numbers she didn't recognize, and one text from Viviana. Press conference at noon. Elena's been formally charged with 47 counts of corruption, racketeering, and conspiracy to commit murder. You and Michelle are requested to attend. Optional, but recommended. The world wants to see the heroes. Heroes. The word felt wrong, like wearing someone else's clothes. But maybe that's what heroism was. Doing the terrifying thing anyway, jumping into the van, making the choice, surviving and helping others survive. Celine got dressed, woke Michelle. Together they went downstairs where Viviana was waiting with coffee and a team of lawyers and a future neither of them had expected. The press conference was chaos, cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions. Lucien standing beside the federal agents who'd arrested Elena, telling the story of the brave prosecutor who'd tried to corrupt his business and the even braver women who'd exposed her. It was theater, carefully staged, every word rehearsed. But the evidence was real. The charges were real. Elena would spend the rest of her life in prison. And Celine? She stood at Lucien's side, Michelle beside her, Viviana behind them. A united front. Afterward, in a private room away from cameras and crowds, Lucien turned to Celine. "So," he asked, "what's your answer?" "To what?" "To everything. Stay or go. Help us or walk away. Build something or burn it all down." Celine looked at him, at Viviana, at Michelle still processing grief, at the city beyond the windows, at the choice that would define everything that came next. "I have conditions," she said. Lucien almost smiled. "Of course you do. No more lies, no more manipulation. If we're doing this, we do it honestly as this life allows." "Agreed. What else?" "Michelle gets protection, education, whatever she needs to finish medical school and build the life Anthony died protecting. Already arranged. And Jessica, my roommate, she stays safe, completely removed from this world. Whatever it takes." "Done. Anything else?" Celine took a breath. "Yeah, one more thing. You teach me everything. How this world works, how to survive it, how to change it from the inside. I'm done being used, done being moved around like a piece on someone else's board. If I'm staying, I'm learning. I'm becoming someone who can't be manipulated." Lucien extended his hand. "Welcome to the Empire, Celine Vale. Let's see if we can make it into something worth keeping." She shook his hand and knew with absolute certainty that her life would never be simple again. But simple had never protected her. Maybe dangerous would. 3 months after Elena's arrest, Celine learned what it actually meant to work for Lucien Moretti. It meant 18-hour days learning systems that most business schools would never teach. Money laundering disguised as real estate investments, supply chains that moved legitimate products alongside illegal ones, protection rackets rebranded as security consulting. Everything documented in language clean enough to pass audits, but dirty enough that everyone involved knew exactly what they were really selling. It meant sitting in rooms with men who'd killed people and discussing quarterly projections like they were talking about weather patterns. It meant learning to read faces for lies, voices for fear, silences for threats. It meant becoming someone she barely recognized when she looked in mirrors. Jessica had taken the money Celine offered and moved to Portland, got an apartment, enrolled in community college, sent texts every few days that got progressively more worried about what Celine was becoming. The last one had said, "I saw you on the news again, standing next to him. You look different, harder. I miss my friend. I hope she's still in there somewhere." Celine hadn't responded, because she wasn't sure Jessica's friend existed anymore. Michelle was thriving. Full scholarship to Columbia Medical School, apartment in a safe neighborhood with security Lucien paid for, therapy 3 times a week to process Anthony's death. She'd stopped calling Celine after the first month. Too many memories. Too much pain. Celine understood. The penthouse had become her second home, sometimes her first. She kept clothes there now, a toothbrush in the guest bathroom, coffee she liked in the kitchen, small invasions that marked territory she hadn't meant to claim. Lucien watched it happen with an expression she couldn't quite read. Not quite approval, not quite concern. Something in between that made her nervous and drawn to him in equal measure. They hadn't touched beyond professional necessity. Hadn't crossed lines that once crossed couldn't be uncrossed. But the tension between them was a living thing, present in every conversation, every shared glance, every moment they spent alone in rooms that suddenly felt too small. Viviana noticed. Of course she did. Viviana noticed everything. "You're playing a dangerous game," she said one evening while they reviewed shipping manifests in Lucien's office. He'd stepped out to take a call, left them alone with spreadsheets and secrets. "I'm not playing anything," Celine said. "Then you're even more naive than I thought." Viviana closed her laptop, looked at Celine with those calculating eyes that saw through every defense. "He cares about you. Actually cares. Not the way he cares about assets or investments.
the way that makes people weak. I haven't done anything, Chet. You exist. That's enough. You remind him that there's more to life than survival and power. You make him want things he can't have. It's dangerous for both of you.
What do you suggest? I quit? Disappear? I suggest you decide what you actually want before someone gets killed over it. Viviana stood, gathered her things. This world doesn't allow for love, Celine. It allows for loyalty, obligation, mutual benefit. But love? Love gets people buried. She left before Celine could respond. Lucien came back 5 minutes later, saw Celine staring at nothing. What did Viviana say? That I'm making you weak. She's not wrong. He sat down across from her. 3 months since the shooting, shoulder healed, scar hidden under expensive shirts. You do make me weak. You make me want to be something other than what I am. And what are you? A man built from violence who's trying to figure out how to unmake himself without collapsing the empire in the process. He leaned back, exhausted. It's harder than I thought it would be. The unmaking or the empire? Both. Silence filled the office, city lights glowing beyond the windows, the constant hum of a place that never stopped moving or demanding or consuming. I've been thinking, Lucien said quietly, about going legitimate, actually legitimate, shutting down everything illegal, converting assets, paying taxes like a normal person. That would take years, probably decades, but it's possible. Viviana's been planning it, creating shell companies that actually do what they claim to do, building legitimate businesses we can transition into. Why tell me this? Because if I do it, I'll need people I trust, people who aren't invested in keeping things dirty, people who want to see this become something better. He met her eyes. People like you. Celine's heart was hammering. You're offering me what? A partnership? I'm offering you a future, if you want it, if you're willing to stay and help build it. What about Viviana? Marcus? Your people who've been with you for years? They'll stay. But they're products of the old system. They think in terms of territory and power. You think in terms of people and consequences. That's what we need if we're actually going to change. You barely know me. I know you jumped into a moving van for someone you'd never met. I know you stood up to me when everyone else in that restaurant ran. I know you're either the bravest person I've ever met or the most reckless, and I can't decide which scares me more. The confession hung between them. Celine stood, walked to the window, looked out at Manhattan glowing like a circuit board. If I stay, if I help you do this, what happens to us? What do you want to happen? I don't know. But Viviana's right. This thing between us is dangerous. It's distracting. It's inevitable, Lucien finished. He'd moved behind her, close enough that she could feel his presence like heat. We can pretend it's not there. Keep things professional. Bury it under work and distance and all the rational reasons why it's a bad idea. Or we stop pretending and deal with the consequences. Celine turned, found herself inches from him, close enough to see the scar on his collarbone from a fight years ago. Close enough to smell coffee and expensive cologne and something underneath that was just him. The consequences include people thinking I'm sleeping my way into power, she said, that I'm using you, that everything I've earned is actually just because you want me in your bed. Let them think it. You'll prove them wrong. And if I can't, if being with you undermines everything I'm trying to build, then we end it. Walk away from each other and focus on the work. But at least we'll know. His hand came up, touched her face, gentle, careful, like she might break. At least we won't spend the rest of our lives wondering what if. Celine's breath caught, every rational part of her brain screaming that this was a mistake, that mixing business with whatever this was would destroy both. But she'd spent her whole life being rational, being careful, playing it safe, and safe had never protected her. She kissed him. His response was immediate, hands sliding into her hair, pulling her closer, the kiss desperate and hungry and months of tension releasing all at once. They broke apart, both breathing hard, both knowing they'd just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. This is a terrible idea, Celine said, probably the worst I've ever had. We'll regret it. Almost certainly. He kissed her again, deeper this time. But not tonight. They made it to his bedroom, barely, leaving a trail of clothes and common sense in their wake. The sex was intense and complicated and everything Celine had known it would be. Not gentle, not safe, just honest in a way that terrified her. Afterward, they lay in the dark, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her shoulder. The city beyond the windows still glowing, still demanding, still not caring about the choices people made in the dark. "This changes everything," she said quietly. "I know. Viviana's going to kill us both." "Probably." His arm tightened around her. "Worth it, though." Celine almost laughed. "You're insane." "Takes one to know one." They fell asleep tangled together, two broken people trying to build something whole from pieces that didn't quite fit. Morning came too fast. Celine woke to her phone ringing, Viviana's name on the screen. She answered. "Yeah? We have a problem. Get to the office, now." "What kind of problem?" "The kind where people die if we don't move fast. You have 20 minutes. The line went dead. Lucienne was already up, dressing, moving with the efficiency of someone used to emergencies. "What's wrong?" "Viviana didn't say. Just said people might die." They made it to the office in 15 minutes. Viviana was waiting, face grim, Marcus beside her looking worse. "Elena's lawyer filed an appeal," Viviana said without preamble, claiming evidence was obtained illegally, contaminated chain of custody. "They're saying the recordings were doctored, that we fabricated everything to frame her." "That's insane," Celine said. "There are witnesses, documentation, all of which came from us. People connected to Lucian. The judge is reviewing everything. Preliminary hearing in 72 hours. If they throw out the evidence, Elena walks." Silence filled the office. "How?" Lucian's voice was cold. "How is this possible?" "Her lawyer's good. Former DOJ connected. And Elena still has friends in powerful places, people who benefit from her being free, people who will make sure the evidence disappears if they can." "What do we need?" Celine asked. "More witnesses? Independent verification? We need the one person who can verify everything without connection to us." Marcus pulled up a file on his laptop. "David Chen, FBI agent. He was investigating Elena independently before our evidence came forward. Has his own documentation, his own witnesses. If he testifies, it corroborates everything." "So get him to testify." "We can't find him. He's disappeared. Went dark 2 weeks ago. No contact with his office, no credit card activity, no phone pings. Just gone." Viviana pulled up photos. Agent Chen, mid-40s, serious expression, the look of someone who'd spent years chasing people through darkness. "He was getting close to something," she said. "Had informants inside Elena's operation, people who could testify about the money, the corruption, the murders. Then he vanished." "You think Elena got to him?" Celine asked. "I think someone did. Whether it was Elena or someone protecting her, the result's the same. Without Chen's testimony, our case falls apart. Elena walks, and everyone who helped put her away becomes a target." The implications settled over the room like fog. "We find him," Lucian said, "whatever it takes, however long it takes. We find him, and we get him to that hearing." 72 hours, Marcus reminded him. Not a lot of time. "Then we don't waste any." Lucian looked at each of them. "Viviana, pull Chen's file. Everything. Where he lived, worked, who he loved. Find the thing that would make him run and hide. Celine, you're with me. We're going to visit some of Elena's former associates, people who might know where Chen went." "And if they don't want to talk?" Celine asked. Lucien's smile was cold. "They'll talk." The next 48 hours were a blur of violence and desperation. They started with Elena's former assistant, a woman named Patricia who'd flipped on her boss to save herself. She lived in a safe house in New Jersey. Federal protection, armed guards. Lucian walked past the guards like they weren't there. Showed credentials that shouldn't have worked but did. Money bought access. Fear bought silence. Patricia was terrified. Small woman, 50s, the kind of person who'd spent a career following orders and never questioning where they led. "I don't know anything about Agent Chen," she said, voice shaking. "I already told the FBI everything I know." "Tell us what you told them," Celine said. Gentle, calm, playing good cop to Lucien's silent threat. "Please, A man's life depends on it. Elena was worried about someone, an agent who was getting too close. She had meetings about it, private ones, with people I'd never seen before. What people? I don't know. She sent me out of the room, but I heard names. Volkov, someone called the broker, and Chen. She mentioned Chen specifically, said he needed to be handled before the arraignment. Handled how? Patricia's eyes filled with tears. She didn't say, but people who needed handling usually ended up dead or disappeared. That's just how it worked. They left her crying in her safe house. Next was one of Elena's financial advisors, a man named Thomas, who'd helped move the money, wash it through shell companies, make it legitimate. He was harder to find, living under a different name in Connecticut, paranoid, security system, dog that looked like it ate intruders for breakfast. Lucian bypassed the security, picked the lock, disarmed the system with codes he shouldn't have had. The dog turned out to love people, especially people who brought treats. Thomas was in his study, drinking scotch, reading files he probably shouldn't have kept. He looked up when they entered. Didn't seem surprised. Wondered when someone would come, he said, poured himself another drink. Didn't offer them any. Elena's people or yours? Ours, Lucian said. We're looking for Agent Chen. Why would I know where he is? Because you moved money for Elena, set up accounts, fake identities. You're good at making people disappear on paper. Maybe you helped Chen disappear in person. Thomas laughed, bitter. You think I'd help a Fed? After what they did to me? Destroyed my career, my reputation? Made me testify against Elena to save myself from prison? You'd help him if she was threatening something you cared about more than your career, Celine said. She'd been looking at the photos on his desk. Thomas with a woman, with kids, grandkids. Your family. Thomas's expression shifted, fear replacing bravado. Elena can't touch them, he said. She's in prison, under guard. Her lawyer's filing appeals. If she walks, what do you think happens to everyone who testified against her? Lucien leaned forward. She'll come for all of you, your family, your new life, everything you built after you flipped. It'll burn. Unless we can keep her locked up, Celine added, which requires Chen's testimony, which requires finding him. Help us and we protect your family. Refuse and you're on your own when she gets out. Thomas stared at his scotch, hands shaking, the weight of impossible choices pressing down on him. He came to me 6 weeks ago, he finally said, asked for help creating a new identity, said Elena's people were closing in, that he'd discovered something that would destroy her completely, but he needed to survive long enough to use it. What did he discover? He wouldn't say, just that it was bigger than corruption, bigger than the money, something that connected Elena to people who could make federal agents disappear permanently. Did you help him? I gave him documents, passport, credit cards, bank account under a false name. Told him to run far and don't look back. Where did he go? I don't know. That was the point. The less I knew, the less I could tell if someone like you came asking questions. Lucien's patience was visibly wearing thin. You must have some idea, a city, a direction, something. He mentioned upstate, somewhere remote, said he needed to disappear into woods in silence until the trial. Thomas pulled out a piece of paper, wrote an account number. This is the bank account I set up for him. If he's using it, you might be able to track transactions. See where he's spending money. Celine took the paper. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just make sure Elena stays locked up. Because if she doesn't, he looked at his family photos. I don't want to know what happens next. They left him in his study, drinking scotch, staring at pictures of people he might not be able to protect. Viviana tracked the account. 3 transactions in the last 2 weeks. All in the same small town upstate. Population 800. The kind of place where strangers stood out and questions weren't welcome. It's a 4-hour drive, she said. You leave now. You can be there by midnight. We're going tonight? Celine asked. Hearings tomorrow afternoon. We're out of time. They took an SUV, Marcus driving, Lucien in the passenger seat, Celine in the back, armed. Because Viviana had insisted and Celine had stopped arguing about carrying weapons weeks ago. The drive north was quiet. City lights fading into darkness. Suburbs becoming rural. Trees replacing buildings. The world getting smaller and quieter until it felt like they were the only people left. They reached the town at 11:47 p.m. One main street, post office, general store, bar that was closed. Everything dark except street lights that hummed with insects. Account shows transactions at the general store, Marcus said, but it's closed now. We'll have to wait until morning. Or we ask around, Lucien said. He pointed at a house with lights on, smoke coming from the chimney. Someone's awake. They knocked. An old woman answered. 70s, suspicious eyes, shotgun within reach. Help you? She asked. We're looking for someone, Celine said, stepping forward, less threatening than the men. Man in his 40s, probably keeping to himself, might be using a different name. Why are you looking? He's in danger. We're trying to help him. The woman studied her. Then Lucien. Then Marcus. You don't look like helpers. You look like trouble. We're both, Lucien admitted. But the man we're looking for has information that could save lives. We need to find him before people who want him dead do. Lots of folks come here to hide, the woman said. We don't ask questions. Don't appreciate outsiders asking them either. Please, Celine said. A federal prosecutor is trying to kill him. If we don't find him first, he's dead, and a lot of other people die with him. The woman's expression softened slightly. There's a man staying at the old Hutchins cabin, 3 miles north on Timber Road, keeps to himself, pays cash. That who you're looking for? Could be, thank you. Don't thank me yet. Road's rough, cabin's isolated, and if he doesn't want to be found, you'll have trouble convincing him otherwise. They drove north. Timber Road was barely a road. More like suggestions of where a road used to be. Trees pressing close. Darkness absolute. The cabin appeared suddenly. Lights off. Truck parked outside. Smoke from the chimney suggesting someone was home. They parked. Got out. Approached carefully. Weapons ready but not raised. Not wanting to spook someone who might be armed and paranoid. Lucien knocked. Silence. Knocked again. Agent Chen, he called. We need to talk. It's about Elena Costas. Movement inside. Footsteps. Then the door opened a crack. A man peered out. Matched the photo. David Chen, but thinner, harder, eyes that had seen too much. Who the hell are you? He asked, gun visible in his hand. My name is Lucien Moretti. This is Celine Vale and Marcus. Chen slammed the door. They heard locks engaging, furniture being moved. Wait, Celine shouted. We're not here to hurt you. Elena's getting out. Her lawyer's claiming our evidence was fabricated. We need your testimony to keep her locked up. Silence. Then Chen's voice through the door. Your evidence got contaminated because you're criminals trying to take down a federal prosecutor. I'm not helping you frame an innocent woman. Celine and Lucien exchanged looks. You think Elena's innocent? Lucien asked. I think you're mafia trash trying to destroy someone who was investigating you. I've read the case, seen the evidence. It's too perfect, too convenient. She was building something against you, and you manufactured a conspiracy to bury her. She murdered people, Celine said. She tried to have us killed. She's the conspiracy. Says the waitress sleeping with a crime boss. Real credible. The words stung. Celine felt Lucien tense beside her. We have proof, she said, keeping her voice steady. Independent documentation, recordings, witnesses who have no connection to Lucien. Then you don't need me. Yes, we do. Because the judge is throwing out our evidence, saying it's tainted. Your investigation was separate, independent. If you testify, it corroborates everything, proves Elena's guilty. Or it makes me part of your frame job. Marcus stepped forward. Agent Chen, I'm former NYPD, worked organized crime for 12 years before going private. I know what dirty looks like. This isn't dirty. Elena Costas has been running a criminal empire for years, using her position to steal and extort and murder. She's everything we're supposed to fight against. Former cop, Chen scoffed. Even better. Now you're a traitor working for the enemy. The enemy? Marcus's voice hardened. Elena killed 3 federal agents to fake an escape. Murdered a kid named Anthony to silence his sister. Tried to have Lucien and Celine assassinated on a public pier. What kind of innocent prosecutor does that? Silence from inside. Then movement. The door opened wider. Chen stood there, gun still in hand but lowered. You have proof about the agents? Ballistics reports, communications. The whole thing was staged to look like Anthony escaped, but Elena's people killed him and the agents to cover the trail. Chen's face went pale. Those were my colleagues. Good people. We thought Anthony killed them. He didn't. Elena did. And she'll kill more if she gets out. Celine pulled out her phone, showed him files, photos, documentation that Viviana had compiled. Look at it. Actually look, then tell us we're lying. Chen took the phone, read, scrolled, his expression shifting from suspicion to horror to rage. Son of a bitch, he whispered. She actually did it. The appeals, the evidence challenges. I thought it was just good lawyering, but she's actually trying to walk. Hearings tomorrow afternoon, Lucien said. We need you there, testifying to your independent investigation, corroborating what we found. If I do this, my career's over. Testifying alongside criminals, helping a mafia boss. I'll be investigated, probably prosecuted myself. Maybe, but Elena stays locked up. The agents she killed get justice, and you sleep knowing you did the right thing even when it cost you everything. Chen looked at them, really looked, seeing past their clothes and backgrounds to the desperation underneath. You really think you can win? He asked. Against Elena's lawyers, her connections, everything she's built? With your help, Celine said. Yes. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then he lowered his gun completely. I need to pack. Get my files. Evidence I've been compiling. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. How long? Hour, maybe less. We don't have less. Hearing's at 2 p.m. It's after midnight now. 4-hour drive back. We need to leave in 30 minutes. Then help me pack. They moved into the cabin. Chen had been living like a fugitive. Minimal furniture. Files stacked everywhere. Evidence pinned to walls like a conspiracy theorist's nightmare. Except this conspiracy was real and documented and horrifying. I've been tracking her for 3 years, Chen said while throwing clothes in a bag. Since before she started targeting Lucien, she's been building towards something, using her position to create a criminal empire that operates under the cover of federal authority. But I could never prove it, never get close enough without her knowing. What changed? Marcus asked. She got sloppy, started trusting the wrong people. One of her contractors flipped, gave me locations, communications. I was building a case. Then she found out, sent people to kill me. I barely got out alive. He pulled documents from a safe, handed them to Celine. This is everything. Bank records, communications, evidence of bribery, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder. It's all here, independent of anything you collected. Celine looked through it, recognized names, transactions, patterns that matched what Viviana had found. This wasn't manufactured. This was real. How did you survive? She asked. If Elena sent people to kill you, killed them first, 3 men, ambushed me at my apartment. I got lucky. They got dead. Chen's voice was flat. Been hiding ever since. Waiting for the trial, hoping Elena would get convicted before she could send more. She almost walked, Lucien said. If we hadn't found you, but you did. So let's make sure she stays buried. They packed everything. Files, hard drives, evidence that represented 3 years of work and sacrifice. Loaded it into the SUV. The drive back was tense, Chen in the back with Celine, going through files, preparing testimony. Marcus driving faster than was safe. Lucien making calls, coordinating with Viviana, making sure everything was ready for the hearing. They hit traffic outside the city. Construction, accident, something that turned a 4-hour drive into 5 hours. The hearing was in 3 hours. We're not going to make it, Marcus said. Yes, we are. Lucien was typing, phone calls, messages. Viviana's filing for a continuance. Medical emergency. We'll get a delay. What medical emergency? Mine. Shoulder injury flaring up, needs immediate attention, bought us maybe an hour. Chen looked at him. You're committing fraud to delay a federal hearing. I'm doing whatever it takes to make sure justice happens. You have a problem with that? 3 months ago, I would have. Chen smiled. Grim. Now, do what you have to do. They made it to the courthouse at 2:47 p.m.
Hearing had been delayed until 3. Judge was pissed. Lawyers were furious. Elena sat at the defense table looking smug, like she'd already won. Her expression changed when Chen walked in. Shifted from smug to shocked to terrified in the span of 3 seconds. Her lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we weren't informed of any additional witnesses. This is highly irregular. Agent Chen has been cooperating with federal investigators independently," the prosecutor said, standing quickly, clearly briefed by Viviana. "His testimony is crucial to establishing the veracity of evidence the defense claims is fabricated." The judge looked tired, annoyed, ready to go home. "Fine, let's hear it. Agent Chen, please take the stand." Chen was sworn in. Sat. Looked directly at Elena. "Agent Chen," the prosecutor began, "can you describe your investigation into Elena Costas?" "I've been investigating Ms. Costas for 3 years, initially for suspicion of accepting bribes. That investigation expanded when I discovered she was running a criminal enterprise using her position as federal prosecutor to protect illegal operations while prosecuting competitors." "And what evidence did you gather?" "Bank records showing deposits from shell companies connected to criminal organizations, communications between Ms. Costas and known criminals, witness testimony from people she attempted to bribe or coerce, documentation of at least 17 instances where she deliberately sabotaged investigations into operations she was protecting." Elena's lawyer objected. "Your Honor, this is clearly coordinated testimony. Agent Chen is working with Mr. Moretti to—" "Agent Chen's investigation predates any involvement from Mr. Moretti by 2 years," the prosecutor interrupted. "His evidence was gathered independently through legal channels, with proper warrants and oversight. The judge reviewed files, read, compared notes. The objection is overruled. Continue." Chen testified for 90 minutes, laying out 3 years of investigation, every transaction, every communication, every murder that connected back to Elena. By the time he finished, Elena looked like she might be sick. Her lawyer tried cross-examination, tried to poke holes in Chen's timeline, suggest corruption or collusion. Chen dismantled every attempt, calm, professional, unshakable. When it was over, the judge adjourned. "I'll review all evidence and testimony, issue a ruling within 48 hours. They left the courthouse, Chen, Lucienne, Celine, Marcus, Viviana waiting outside. "How'd it go?" she asked. "He was perfect," Celine said, looking at Chen. "Absolutely perfect." Chen shrugged. "Just told the truth. What happens now?" "Now we wait," Lucienne said, "and hope it was enough." They waited in the penthouse, too wired to sleep, too nervous to eat, just drinking coffee and staring at phones. The ruling came 36 hours later. Judge denied the appeal. Evidence stood. Elena's convictions held. She'd spend the next 40 years in federal prison. Celine read the notification 3 times, making sure it was real, that they'd actually won. Chen was staying in a hotel nearby. Viviana had arranged protection, new identity, relocation once the dust settled. But for now, they were all in Lucienne's office, drinking champagne that cost more than most people's rent, celebrating justice that shouldn't have required criminals to deliver it. "To winning," Viviana said, raising her glass. "To survival," Marcus added. "To doing the right thing," Chen said, "even when it costs everything." They drank. Celine felt Lucien's hand find hers under the table. Squeezed. She squeezed back. For the first time in months, she let herself believe that maybe this could work, that maybe they could build something legitimate, something good, that maybe she'd found where she belonged. The feeling lasted 3 hours. That's when Marcus got the call. His face went pale. He stood, walked to the window, listened, said, "When?" Then, "How many?" He hung up, turned to face them. "We have a problem," he said. "Elena made bail." The room went silent. "That's impossible," Viviana said. "The ruling denied the appeal. She's supposed to be—" "Appellate court overruled. Emergency hearing. Some technicality about her lawyer not getting due process. They posted bail pending final review, $50 million. She's out." "Where is she now?" Lucien's voice was ice. "Unknown. She was released 2 hours ago. We just got word." Celine's phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. She opened it. A photo. Jessica. Bound, gagged, terrified. Then the message. You took everything from me. Now I take everything from you, starting with everyone you love. Your move. Celine couldn't breathe, couldn't think, just stared at the image of her best friend tied to a chair somewhere dark and cold and full of death.
Lucien took her phone, read the message. His expression shifted into something that made everyone in the room take a step back. "Where's Michelle?" he asked. Viviana was already calling. No answer. She tried security, the guards stationed outside Michelle's apartment. "Guards aren't responding," she said, voice tight. "I'm sending backup, but—" Her phone rang. She answered, listened. Her face went white. "Michelle's gone," she said. "Apartment's empty. Signs of struggle. Guards are dead." The room erupted, everyone talking, planning, weapons being pulled from drawers and safes. Celine sat frozen, staring at Jessica's terrified face. This was her fault. She'd brought Jessica into this world, made her a target, and now she was going to die because Celine had been arrogant enough to think she could play in darkness without consequences. Lucien knelt in front of her, took her face in his hands, made her look at him. "We're getting them back," he said. "Both of them, whatever it takes. You hear me?" She nodded, couldn't speak. "Elena wants a war?" Lucien stood, addressed the room. "Then we give her one. Mobilize everyone, every asset, every contact. I want her found in the next 2 hours. I want to know where she's holding them. And I want enough firepower to level whatever building she's hiding in." "This is exactly what she wants," Viviana warned. "She's baiting you, wants you to come in guns blazing so she can kill you and claim self-defense. I don't care what she wants. She took innocent people to get to us. That's a line you don't cross." "Lucien." "No." His voice cut through the room. "I've spent 3 months trying to go legitimate, trying to be better, building something that doesn't require violence. But some people only understand one language, and Elena just reminded me that I'm fluent." He pulled out his phone, made a call. "It's me. Activate everyone. Full mobilization. Target is Elena Costas, presumed armed and extremely dangerous. Rules of engagement. Find her, contain her, call me before anyone does anything stupid." He hung up, looked at Celine. "Get ready," he said. "Because tonight, one way or another, this ends." Celine stood, felt something cold and sharp settling into place where fear had been. Elena had made a mistake. She'd taken the 2 people Celine cared about most in the world, and now she was going to learn exactly what happened when you push someone who had nothing left to lose. They had 2 hours to find Elena before she started killing hostages. The hunt was on, and this time someone wasn't walking away alive. The first lead came from a contact Marcus had cultivated in the Transit Authority. Security footage showing a black van with obscured plates leaving Michelle's building 30 minutes before the guards were discovered dead. The van headed east, toward the waterfront, toward the industrial district where buildings sat empty and screams didn't carry. Viviana cross-referenced the route with properties Elena had access to through shell companies and front operations. Found 3 possibilities. Warehouses that had been inactive for months but still drew power, still had water running, still existed in that gray space between abandoned and operational. "We split up," Lucien said. 3 teams, 3 locations. First one to find them calls the others immediately. No heroes, no solo moves. We do this together or not at all. Celine checked the gun Viviana had given her. Glock 19, 15 rounds. Safety off. Heavy in her hand, but not unfamiliar anymore. 3 months of training had made her competent, if not comfortable. She could hit targets, could handle recoil, could pull the trigger when necessary. Whether she could actually kill someone remained theoretical. Tonight, that theory would get tested. "You're with me," Lucien said. Not asking, stating. "Marcus takes the south warehouse, Viviana takes east. We take west." "Why split up?" Celine asked. "Why not hit each location with full force?" "Because Elena's smart. She knows we're coming, knows we'll mobilize everything we have. If we show up with an army, she kills the hostages immediately. But if we come quiet, cautious, we might get close enough to matter." The logic was sound. The execution was terrifying. They moved out in separate vehicles. Celine and Lucien in an unmarked sedan. Chen insisted on coming, said he'd tracked Elena this long and wasn't about to sit out the ending. Nobody argued. His testimony had saved them once. His gun might save them again. The West Warehouse sat on the edge of the Gowanus Canal, water that looked like oil in the darkness. Building that had manufactured textiles once upon a time before the jobs went overseas and the structure became a corpse. Chain link fence, broken windows, graffiti declaring territory for gangs that had probably moved on years ago. No lights visible, no movement. Could be empty. Could be a trap. They parked 3 blocks away, approached on foot. Chen moving like he'd done this 1,000 times. Lucien moving like violence was a language he'd been speaking since birth. Celine trying not to shake. The fence was cut, recent, metal edges still bright where bolt cutters had sheared through. Someone had been here. Recently. They slipped through, moved along the building's perimeter, looking for entry points, for guards. For any sign they were in the right place. A sound. Faint. From inside. Could have been wind through broken glass, could have been something else. Lucien held up a fist. Stop. Everyone froze. He pointed at a service door, slightly ajar, dark beyond it. Invitation or ambush, hard to tell. Chen moved first, gun raised, smooth, professional, clearing corners like the agent he'd been before everything got complicated. Lucien followed. Celine brought up the rear, heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. Inside was darkness and the smell of rust and old machinery. Their footsteps echoed despite trying to stay quiet. The building was massive. Multiple floors, dozens of rooms, too many places to hide, too many angles to cover. They cleared the first floor, empty, just debris and rats and the ghosts of industry. Second floor. Same. Celine's phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. South location empty. Moving to join you. Another from Viviana. East clear. No sign. Heading west. Which meant this was it. The West warehouse. Elena was here. Had to be. Unless they were wrong and Jessica and Michelle were dying somewhere else while they wasted time in the dark. Third floor. A sound. Definite this time. Voice. Muffled. Coming from the back. They moved faster. Less cautious. Time was currency, and they were running out. The room at the end of the hall had light bleeding under the door. Voices inside. Multiple people. One of them, Elena. You really thought you could beat me? Elena's voice. Clear, confident. You're a waitress. A child playing in a world that eats children. You should have taken the money and run when you had the chance. Jessica's voice. Tearful, terrified. I don't know what you're talking about. Please. I didn't do anything. I don't even know you. No, but Celine does, and she loves you, which makes you leverage, makes you valuable, makes you the perfect weapon to destroy her. Celine's vision went red. She started toward the door. Lucien grabbed her arm, shook his head, mouthed, "Wait." Chen moved to the door, listened, held up 3 fingers. 3 people inside besides the hostages. Maybe more. Hard to tell through walls. Lucien's phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. In position outside, north wall, 3 minutes. Another from Viviana. South side, 2 minutes. Ready when you are. They had backup coming, had superior numbers, had every advantage except time. Elena's voice again. Where is she? Your friend. Your brave protector. She's not coming. She's probably already dead. Killed trying to be a hero. You're wrong. Michelle's voice. Stronger than Jessica's, harder. She's coming. And when she gets here, you're done. A sound, flesh hitting flesh, Michelle crying out. Celine didn't wait, kicked the door. Wood splintering, hinges tearing free. She went through gun raised and found exactly what nightmares were made of. Jessica tied to a chair, face bruised, crying, alive. Michelle 10 feet away. Same situation. Blood on her lip, eyes defiant, Elena standing between them, gun in hand, 2 men flanking her, armed, professional. The kind of people who killed for paychecks. Time slowed. Celine's training kicking in. Assess threats. Prioritize targets. Don't think. Just move. She fired. Double tap. Center mass. The guard to Elena's left dropped. Dead before he understood what happened. Lucien came through behind her. Took the second guard. 3 shots. Chest and head. Professional. Clean. Chen covered the door, making sure no reinforcements came through, which left Elena. Gun now pointed at Jessica's head, finger on the trigger, 1 squeeze away from making Celine's worst nightmare real. Drop it, Elena said. Calm, like this was negotiation and not desperation. All of you, drop your weapons or I kill her right now. Celine's gun didn't waver, pointed at Elena's chest. Center mass. Easy shot. Except Jessica was right behind her. Except if Celine missed even slightly, the bullet would hit her best friend instead of her enemy. "You're not walking out of here," Celine said, voice steadier than she felt. "You kill her, and you die half a second later. That's not leverage. That's suicide." "Maybe. But you'll live knowing you got her killed. That'll eat at you forever. Every day. Every breath. You'll remember that she died because you couldn't save her. Or I shoot you now and she lives. That math seems better." Elena smiled. Blood on her teeth from where Lucien had shot one of her guards and spray had caught her face. "You won't. Because you're not like me. You still think there are lines, rules, ways this is supposed to go. I stopped believing in lines years ago." She shifted, gun pressing harder against Jessica's temple, Jessica whimpering, eyes squeezed shut, praying to whoever might listen that this wasn't how her story ended. "Last chance," Elena said. "Guns down, or she dies and we see if you can live with it." Celine looked at Lucien. He gave the smallest shake of his head. "Don't do it. Don't give up the advantage." But advantage didn't matter if Jessica's brains ended up on the wall. Celine lowered her gun. "Smart girl," Elena said. "Now kick it over here." Celine kicked it, the Glock sliding across concrete, coming to rest at Elena's feet. "You too," Elena said to Lucien. "No." His voice was ice. "You want him. You'll have to shoot through the hostage to get me. And the second you do, you're dead." Elena considered, calculating odds, measuring outcomes. The door behind them exploded. Marcus and 4 men pouring through, weapons raised. Elena suddenly outnumbered 8-1. Her expression shifted, confidence cracking, reality setting in. She was trapped, outgunned, outmaneuvered, but she still had Jessica. "You think this is over?" Elena's voice was rising, panic bleeding through. "You think I'm the only one? I have people everywhere, judges, politicians, federal agents you'll never identify. You cut off one head and 3 more appear. That's how this works." "Maybe," Lucien said, "but you'll be dead, so you won't get to see it." "And she'll be dead too." Elena pressed the gun harder, Jessica crying, hyperventilating. "Is that acceptable losses? Her life for mine?" Celine's mind raced, looking for angles, for options, for anything that didn't end with her best friend bleeding out on a warehouse floor. Michelle caught her eye, mouthed something. Celine couldn't quite read it. Then Michelle moved, slammed her chair backward, into Elena. Not hard enough to knock her over, but enough to disrupt her aim. The gun shifting away from Jessica's head for half a second. Celine dove, grabbed the Glock she'd kicked away, rolled, came up firing. The shot took Elena in the shoulder, spinning her, gun falling from her hand. Lucien moved, tackled her. They went down hard, concrete meeting flesh with sounds that made Celine wince. Marcus and his team swarmed, zip-tying Elena before she could recover, securing the room, Chen cutting Jessica and Michelle free. Jessica collapsed into Celine's arms, sobbing, shaking, alive. Celine held her, pressed her face into Jessica's hair and just breathed. Because her best friend was alive. Because they'd made it. Because somehow against every odd and expectation they'd survived. Michelle stood, walked to where Elena lay bleeding and zip-tied on the floor, looked down at her with eyes that held years of pain. "My brother died protecting me from you," Michelle said quietly. "He was better than all of us, kinder, and you killed him like he was nothing." Elena spat blood. "He was nothing, just collateral damage." Michelle's foot connected with Elena's ribs, hard, the sound of bone maybe cracking, Elena gasping. "Michelle," Lucien's voice, gentle. "Don't. She's not worth it. She killed Anthony." "I know, but beating her to death makes you like her, and you're better than that." Michelle stood there, trembling, fists clenched, every muscle screaming to unleash years of grief and rage. Then she stepped back. "You're right. She's not worth it. She's not worth anything." Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Red and blue lights starting to flash through broken windows. Chen pulled out his badge. "Feds will want her. I'll make sure they get her. And this time, there won't be bail. There won't be appeals. Just a cell and decades to think about what she did." Viviana arrived with her team. Took in the scene, the bodies, Elena bleeding, the hostages alive. We need to leave, now, before this becomes a crime scene we can't explain.
I'm staying, Chen said. I'll handle the official side, make sure the story lands clean. You all were never here. This was a federal operation. My caller, my case.
They'll investigate you, Lucian said. Connect you to us. Destroy your career. My career was over the moment I went into hiding. At least this way it ends with me doing something right. Chen looked at Elena, and making sure people like her don't get to wear badges anymore. Lucien extended his hand. Thank you for everything. Chen shook it. Thank you for giving me a reason to come back, for reminding me what justice is supposed to look like. They left Chen with Elena and the bodies and the sirens getting closer, slipped out through the back, into vehicles that disappeared into the city before the first patrol car arrived. The penthouse felt different when they returned, quieter, like something fundamental had shifted in its architecture. Jessica was there, safe, wrapped in blankets, drinking tea that Viviana had made, Michelle beside her, both of them still shaking but alive. Marcus and his team dispersed, going back to whatever lives they maintained outside this world. Viviana went to coordinate cleanup, make sure the official story matched Chen's version, leave no loose threads, which left Celine and Lucien standing by the windows, looking out at the city that had tried to kill them and failed. She could have won, Celine said quietly. If Michelle hadn't moved, if I'd been half a second slower, Jessica would be dead. But she's not, because you didn't hesitate, because you made the shot when it mattered. I got lucky. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. You were prepared, you trained, you learned, and when the moment came, you executed. He paused. You saved her life. Celine looked at her hands. They were steady now. No shaking, no trembling. The adrenaline had burned through, left something harder in its place. I killed someone tonight, she said. That guard. I didn't even think. Just pulled the trigger and he was dead. I know. Does it get easier, the killing? No, it gets normal, which is worse. She turned to face him. Is that what we are? People for whom killing is normal? We're people trying to survive in a world that doesn't care if we do. Sometimes survival requires violence, sometimes it requires mercy. The trick is knowing which and when. And tonight? Tonight required both. Violence to stop Elena. Mercy to let Michelle make a choice instead of choosing for her. He moved closer. You did good. Both parts. Celine felt tears starting, pushed them back. Jessica's going to hate me when she processes what happened, what I dragged her into. She'll never forgive me. Maybe. Or maybe she'll understand that you did everything you could to protect her, that you risked your life to save hers, that friendship means showing up even when it's terrifying. That's optimistic. I'm trying something new. Optimism. Not sure I like it yet. Despite everything, Celine almost laughed. How very unlike you. I'm full of surprises. They stood together, not touching, just existing in the same space. Two people who'd survived something that should have killed them. What happens now? Celine asked. With Elena locked up, with the organization, with us. Now we build something better, like we talked about. Transition everything legitimate. Use the money and power for something other than survival. Actually help people instead of exploiting them. That'll take years, decades probably, but we have time. And we have people who believe it's possible. He looked at her. Do you believe it's possible? Celine thought about the last 3 months, about jumping into vans and facing down prosecutors and learning to shoot straight, about becoming someone who could stand in rooms with killers and not flinch. I believe we can try, she said. I believe trying is better than accepting things as they are. Good enough for me. Viviana returned an hour later. Confirmed Chen's story had landed. Elena was in federal custody, under guard, facing charges that would ensure she died in prison. The investigation was clean. No connection to Lucien or anyone in his organization, just a federal agent who'd finally caught the corrupt prosecutor he'd been chasing. What about Chen? Celine asked. Will he be okay? He's a hero. The FBI's golden boy who brought down one of their own. They'll protect him, promote him probably. He played it perfectly. And the bodies? Self-defense. Elena's hired guns. Everything justified. We're clear. The relief should have felt bigger, should have filled the room. Instead, it just felt like exhaustion. Like they'd run a marathon through hell and finally crossed the finish line, but were too tired to celebrate. Jessica appeared in the doorway, still wrapped in blankets, eyes red from crying. She looked at Celine. Can we talk? Alone? Celine's stomach dropped. Yeah, of course. They went to one of the guest rooms, closed the door. Jessica sat on the bed. Celine stood, not sure if she should sit beside her or give her space. I need you to tell me the truth, Jessica said. All of it. What you've been doing, who these people are, everything. So Celine told her, starting from the wine glass exploding against the wall, through the gala and the raids and Elena's conspiracy. The shooting at the pier, the choice to stay instead of run, learning the business, learning to survive, falling for someone she probably shouldn't have. Jessica listened, didn't interrupt, just absorbed information that rewrote everything she thought she knew about her best friend. When Celine finished, silence filled the room. You're in love with him, Jessica finally said. With Lucien. I don't know, maybe. It's complicated. He's a criminal. He's trying not to be, trying to change, build something legitimate. Do you believe that? Actually believe it? Celine sat down. Finally. I believe he wants to. I believe he's capable of it. Whether he succeeds is another question. And if he doesn't, if this all collapses and you end up arrested or dead or worse, then at least I tried.